George. What was that tonight?
Good evening. It's 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, August 5th, 2026, and this regular meeting of the Sandpoint City Council is now called to order in council chambers at 1123 West Lake Street, Sandpoint, Idaho. For the record, I am Mayor Jeremy Grimm presiding. Also present are City Council President Deb Rule, Councilors Joe Espiro, Kyle Schreiber, Pam Duquette, Joe Tate, and Joshua Torres. Under the city's adopted code of ethics and civility, as the presiding officer, I'm to identify law enforcement personnel serving as Sergeant of Arms for tonight's meeting. Tonight we have Police Chief Corey Kuhn in the back. Thanks, Chief. If everyone please rise, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For members of the public in attendance, if you wish to speak during this evening's general public comment portion of the meeting, please complete a comment sign-up form and hand it to staff at the back table. Please note that our general comment time following announcements and reports will be the only opportunity for public comment regarding new and old business and the consent calendar items or other general matters not on the agenda that are pertinent to the business of the city of Sandpoint. Moving on, announcements and reports. Council members, do you have any general announcements or reports at this time?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilwoman Duquette.
I do. I have two. Actually, I have the Sustainability Committee meeting minutes, and we had Director Welker visit us, and we talked about the city's, not his, pesticide herbicide policy. We had great Sustainability Committee members are very invested in this, and they did a great job sharing ideas that I think staff will revise policy incorporating committee comments and return an updated draft for further committee review. We also had Chase Youngdahl provided technical expertise. Talked about our goals again, and then talked about a subcommittee for the RV park and City Beach parking project. So they're very engaged and they're very excited to be engaged. And I have a fun thing. Monarch and Friends Festival on August 29th from 12 to 4. It's a family-friendly free festival. And it is to celebrate Sandpoint City becoming a Monarch Butterfly USA city. And we have, I have helped with the Mighty Monarchs. Perky Hagedon is also part of this. We have like 15 environmental groups staging. We are at the Matchwood and Evans Brothers area. We've got the whole area. It's educational hands-on activities, focusing on the importance of our pollinators, raffle baskets, food, kids ambassador program. Again, it's August 29th. We have music by Harold's IGA. There's crafts for kids. They're making a special brew for us at Matchwood and then a coffee blend at Evans Brothers. And any proceeds will go to making a pollinator garden at Matchwood. So please come, August 29th.
Thank you, Councilor Duquette. Any other council announcements or reports? All right. Moving on, we'll invite some directors to come up and give a brief overview on events and activities in their departments.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I would like to recognize the members of the City of Sandpoint Parks crew who have gone above and beyond their normal duties this year to provide the best possible experience for residents and visitors in Sandpoint's public parks. Led by Colton Fullwiller, the crew includes 6 year-round employees. That's Colton, Sean, Tom, Edward, Austin, and Josiah, and 4 seasonal employees, Kyle, Ted, Michael, and Davis. We do have budget for 6 seasonals, but we were only able to recruit and hire 4 this year. So we actually have 2 openings on that crew for this year. That's left this year's team, 10-person team stretched extra thin. So together, this crew maintains 90 acres of city parks, miles of pathways and waterfront, downtown public spaces, rights of way stretching from Ponderay to Dover. They mow, trim, weed, water, and rake, empty hundreds of trash cans each week, prepare athletic fields for tournaments, support major events such as the festival at Sandpoint, and ready picnic shelters and green spaces for private rentals. They also repair docks at our 2 marinas, patch asphalt in a dozen parking lots, maintain aging playground equipment, keep the splash pad flowing, rake the sand at City Beach, clean restrooms, and help keep our swimming areas safe. This year, Colton's team also took on responsibility for helping install and maintain 46 parking kiosks downtown and along the waterfront. When kiosks have been vandalized with spray paint, super glue, and stickers, the crew has responded quickly to clean them and restore their operation. When a solar panel was torn off one kiosk and ice cream dumped inside, the crew cleaned up the mess and got it working again. When visitors to City Beach have questions about parking or need help using a kiosk, Parks employees routinely step in and offer friendly assistance. Recently, some members of the public have criticized the crew for not adequately collecting garbage left behind at City Beach. Those concerns deserve context. Colton estimates that the crew has been spending approximately 14 labor hours and about $500 in wages and benefits each week, moving garbage from nearly 30 bins around the park into 4 centrally located dumpsters. The city also pays Waste Management approximately $500 per week to service those dumpsters, which are supplemented by 7 big belly compacting bins in the park. Earlier this summer, we tested a different approach at 3rd Avenue Pier. The single garbage bin there was frequently overflowing with additional trash piled beside it. After the bin was removed, visitors began packing out their garbage, and the area became noticeably cleaner. Based on that success, we removed approximately 20 Rubbermaid bins from the City Beach on Monday. These bins were often overflowing while nearby big bellies and other receptacles sat empty or near empty. Their convenient placement near picnic areas also encouraged people to leave trash behind or beside a full bin rather than carry it a short distance to either a receptacle or a dumpster. We are now 3 days into operating City Beach with 7 big bellies, 3 Rubbermaid bins, and 4 large dumpsters. The early results are encouraging. Less garbage is being piled beside overflowing bins. Visitors are using the remaining receptacles and dumpsters, and crew time has been freed for other important maintenance. This morning, for example, Edward was able to pull the rake behind the tractor across the sand and refresh the sand for the first time in weeks instead of spending 2 hours hauling garbage. Areas previously cluttered with Rubbermaid containers are more open and attractive, and the park is functioning well with fewer bins. If you're at City Beach walking through Lakeview Park or taking your children to the splash pad at Traverse Park, please take a moment and thank our parks crew. These 10 employees put their hearts into maintaining Sandpoint's public spaces, and they deserve our respect and appreciation. In other Parks and Recreation news, I want to congratulate the Winter Ridge Kale Blazers. Does anybody know who that is? They're the softball league champions. They won against the Idaho Forest Group team in last night's championship game. Idaho Forest Group finished the 13-team league in second place. The Daher Kodiaks and North Idaho Ballers from Bonners Ferry finished in 3rd and 4th. We had 13 teams participate with over 130 adult softball players in our summer league this year. Really want to thank Ryan Wells. He stepped up when our recreation coordinator actually resigned a few weeks ago after getting married and realizing his schedule did not allow for him to support recreation this summer. So we do have an opening in the recreation division, that very important rec coordinator job. It's a pretty good paying job, up to 20 hours a week, over $21 an hour. So if you know anybody who's interested in making some money, maybe a side gig, we really want to hire somebody so we can offer adult volleyball this winter, get some indoor after-school programs going at the sports center, and then rec league basketball, or I should say open gym basketball throughout the winter, and then youth track and field is another program that position will support, along with any additional rec program we can get going next summer. So we do have that very important opening right now. Please spread the word around. We really want to hire new rec coordinators so we can keep offering new adult programs. The softball league was a huge success. We gave out massive championship rings to the winning team last night. So if you know anybody on that Winter Ridge team, ask them to show you their championship ring. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to take
Mr. Mayor,
Thank you, Director Walker. Questions for Director Walker?
I have a comment.
Councilwoman?
I can attest to the
Okay.
garbage at the City Beach. I'm down there a lot emptying my recycle bins. When the big bellies or solar bellies are full next to my recycle bins, people will put their trash in the recycle bins. I find diapers and food. dog poop in a bag, things that don't recycle. So I am all for you trying this because I think it'll be a much nicer place to visit. And we do have two big packet in, packet out red signs. That would be nice if people would follow. So thanks for doing that. I appreciate it
Thank
a
you.
lot.
You're welcome.
Director Welker, I know you used to teach economics. Is there a human behavior element to this that you would describe? I mean, you're clearly, there was too much garbage area and now
I would
there's
call it a moral hazard.
moral hazard.
When
of
we
too many-
provide something there, the expectation is that there will be someone there to clean up after people. If we put a little bit more responsibility in the individual, people tend to take that responsibility seriously. And psychologically, I think having a full bin, also another typical use of the Rubbermaid bins, which isn't possible with the big bellies, was remove the lid, stick 6 pizza boxes on top of the bin, set the lid on top of the pizza boxes. Next gust of wind, you get pizza boxes blowing all over the park. The big dumpsters are a great place to dump pizza boxes. There are 4 of them. They're never within more than a 3-minute walk from where you are in the park. So we put signs up on the front of all the big bellies directing people to where the dumpsters are located. We really don't want people to leave, pizza boxes and bags full of fast food behind at the park. In the park, I should say. Go use the dumpsters. If a big belly's full, please just walk 3 minutes to a dumpster.
And Director Welker, any update on the Goose Paw Patrol? That came up a couple weeks ago. I haven't heard anything. Are they out or?
There's still about 11 deputized pups in the community that have their badges. We had one retire recently. Unfortunately, actually, it was lost, not in the line of duty, but we did lose one of our Paw Patrol members, and I had a badge and a vest returned. So, unfortunately, I don't have the name of that animal. I would love to recognize the hero today, but we still have 11 deputized Paw Patrollers. We don't have a great level of coordination, but I do believe they're out there occasionally. I personally didn't see any geese the last few days at the beach, but that doesn't mean they're not coming and going. Okay.
Any other council questions for Director Welker?
No, Mr. Mayor, I just want to say thank you for the dumpsters. So we had 5 big pizza boxes at delivery, playing volleyball, and it was nice. But when we did use a big belly the other day to just put normal trash, there was like pizza boxes shoved in there, and that was rough.
Hopefully the signage lets people know that there's a place for that sort of garbage.
So
Yeah.
thanks.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Any other director?
Introduce our deputy planning director, Bill Dean.
Great. Deputy Planning and Community Development Director, Mr. Bill Dean. How are you, Bill?
I'm well. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Council members, good evening. Just a quick update on the zoning code work we've been doing. It's been a little while since we've spoken. I've left some of you with binders. Others of you have received your zoning code workbook binders. Just a quick update. We've had a little bit of a pause over the summer while we've cranked on some building permits and development applications. Over the last 8 or 9 months, we've worked really closely with your Planning and Zoning Commission and your Arts, Culture, and Historic Preservation Commission and have drafted a significant new zoning ordinance with a lot of rezonings of property for you to consider. We've been spending a lot of time with your Planning and Zoning Commission. At this stage, just as a little FYI for you, we're going to be doing some more targeted outreach with property owners downtown specifically, those that are going to be within the boundaries of the adopted historic preservation zone, to make sure they understand what this ordinance says and get their feedback and have that direct dialogue. We've been doing that with the Arts, Culture, and Historic Preservation Commission. All of our meetings, by the way, are posted online, as are the binders that you have in front of you. That's also online for people to consume. And I encourage, if you're interested in this project, and I think a lot of people are going to become interested in it as they learn more about it, I encourage you to watch some of the videos. We've been having a lot of discussion and thorough dialogue with the Planning and Zoning Commission about where we're going. The next step is going to be targeted outreach to property owners whose property is implicated in the zoning work we're doing. When you're doing zoning work, either you're changing a standard or changing the color on the map, the zoning district itself. So it's extensive. It's across large portions of the commercial areas and feathers out into some of the neighborhoods. So it's important at this stage that we're really clear with the property owners, residents, and having ample opportunity for people to understand what it is this project is. So I'm going to be making office hours available every day of the week through hearing, probably in the morning, in addition to appointments. And we're going to be sending letters out that explain exactly where your property is, what the current zoning is, what the future zoning might be, in an effort to generate some additional dialogue. This is a step that's above and beyond what would be required, but it's a significant project that's balanced on your new comp plan. So we think it's appropriate that we should take this measure. for that extra input, hopefully gearing up for a hearing before the Planning and Zoning Commission, possibly in September. So that's a brief update. I just want to make you aware of where we are in progress.
Thanks.
Thanks. Any questions for Deputy Director Dean? Bill, just quick, I mean, there must be well over 1,000 properties that are going to be affected by this, so.
2,000 or 3,000 probably letters will go out. We not only target the properties that are subject of having the zoning map change, but also properties within 300 feet of that. We want to go above and beyond, make sure this is very well publicized, this effort. You have a new comp plan. This is a major step to get new zoning put in place, and we really want that feedback. A lot of it's going to be, well, what can I do today versus what can I do tomorrow? And we're going to, of course, explain all that and make adjustments as necessary.
And Bill, just a suggestion, when we did this in 2009 and 10, after the Planning Commission hearing, we did a joint meeting, council and Planning Commission, just so those questions, those issues, those changes could be discussed and understood. So just a suggestion that we try to get that on the books too,
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
as a workshop.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Bill.
You're welcome.
Holly Ellis, Public Works Director. Good evening, Holly.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. A reminder to council and members of the public, Wednesday, August 26th, we have a special meeting. It's a workshop for downtown Phase 3 revitalization. The purpose of this workshop is really pointed at looking at the Superior and First intersection, as well as other improvements along this corridor from Lake Street south to Superior. So it'll be a very engaged, and we're looking forward to that workshop with our consultant. At the next council meeting, August 19th, a heads up, we'll be preparing an update on our wastewater treatment plant. We have some updates to give on our screw press project. Looking forward, in September, council will be asked to consider a professional services agreement with a owner's representative for the full wastewater treatment plant reconstruction. The purpose of that role is what it sounds. They will be a professional firm who is representing the city in moving forward with that large project. So I wanted to give you a heads up on two important meetings in the future. The next meeting, we'll give an update on where we're at with the wastewater treatment plant project. And in September, we'll talk more about what it'll look like engaging that owner's representative role. Talking about projects and things happening in town right now, the Division Sidewalk project is wrapping up. We've got some small punch list items for the contractor to come back and finalize. We've got some hydro seeding to do, some tree plantings to work on. Plan It is an arborist service that you'll see out and about. They are doing an assessment of our public right-of-way. So you'll recall the city received a grant. This is us using those dollars to update our tree inventory. And again, this is all of the trees within public right-of-way that we're getting that updated assessment. The CIPP project is complete. This is the trenchless lining that we completed over at Farman Elementary on the stormwater main that had broken, and also the sewer main under Olive Street that had broken. That is repaired. Where we're focusing our efforts right now is to come back and revisit Olive Street and get some new paving down this season. Those are my project updates. Any questions from council?
Sure. I have just a quick one. Holly, can you just give us a brief summary of where the Cedar Street project is at current? I saw a lot of heavy equipment out there and staging.
Absolutely. Cedar reconstruction, we are now located between Lincoln and Division. Our contractor is working closer to the Lincoln intersection. Avista has pulled ahead on Cedar Street, and they're installing their new gas main along the southern side of Cedar, and they're working from Lincoln to Monroe to install their new gas main on that south side. So when you're out there, you'll see that Avista's installing their trench. That trench line is going across our silver maple tree. So we've got our arborist who's working with the contractor out there. They're air spading and making sure that those roots are protected and all of the proper tree care for that silver maple. So this is Our first time that we're encroaching into that critical root zone for that tree, and our arborist is making sure that we're careful and thoughtful through there. Once our contractor is done with the Avista work, they're going to pause the work on Cedar and they'll move over to Lincoln. There's a large storm main that they're installing on Lincoln between Pine Street and Division on the east side. Their one critical construction schedule piece that they're trying to meet is to tie in that storm main on Pine Street before school starts so that we don't have any disruptions. So you'll see them in the next coming weeks, probably 2 weeks, focusing more on Lincoln so they can get ahead of that improvement on Pine Street before school.
Awesome. Council members, questions for Public Works Director Hawley?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
I do have a question on the planet. I like it. Is there a timeline on that?
I'd have to get back to you. They're inventorying our whole city and they're being very thoughtful, and it does take time, but I would have to get back to you on what that schedule is going to look like.
Okay, and is it also covering parks?
Another great question. Let me get back to you. I don't want to assume something.
Okay, because I had a budget item that would have to do with that, so.
It absolutely can include parks. If it doesn't, we could add that scope of work. So Eric Bush is our urban forester, and he's been managing that project really closely. If it doesn't, we can absolutely add that park. And if there's a specific park that we wanted to add, we could absolutely do that. And I'm thinking probably our Farm and Park downtown would be one that's overdue for an assessment of those trees. And we could ask a very pointed question of how we preserve those trees and the use of that park.
Okay, perfect. That's exactly the park I was concerned about, the trees.
Yeah.
Thanks. Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Holly, I was just wondering, I can't remember, I received an email from John Gaddis that Eric Bush was included in. Were you included in that email also, or?
Yes, I was.
Okay, so you're aware of that and the silver maple and, okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure that was being addressed, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions for our Public Works Director? Thanks, Holly.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Chief Gilchrist, anything we need to let the public know about fire hazards? Other than it looks a little scary out there. Maybe just reiterate our current.
I'll say it's scary out there. Yeah, so it's very, very hot, very, very dry. The IDL, the Idaho Department of Lands, just shifted from very high to extreme. Early fire danger rating classification this morning. They came out with, I believe it's Friday, that they're going to implement the stage 2, which includes the hoot owl work hours. So anybody that's working out in forested areas, like up in our watershed, if they're doing any chainsaw work, things like that, has to have flame arresters on it anyway, but there's no use between 1 p.m. and 1 a.m. So
That's for the public cutting firewood too, and anyone?
Yeah, anybody that's working out in the timberline is what I call it. It doesn't really change anything for us in the city limits. We have already have the open burning ban suspension in place. We do not issue burn permits at this time. The only thing you can do outside is basically cook in a grill that's a fully enclosed grill or stove, barbecue pit, something like that.
Thank you, Chief.
Yep.
Appreciate it, and just wish you a ton of success in the coming weeks. Council, any questions for the chief at this time? Thanks, Chief. Keep up the great work.
Yep.
Councilwoman Duquette, I just checked that contract with Planet. It includes all trees, stumps, and available planting sites within the city rights of way and public parks.
Thanks.
All right, I think that's going to do it for director updates, unless anyone else wants to jump in. Good. Next, we'll proceed with the general public comment portion of the meeting. If you wish to speak and haven't yet completed a sign-up form, please do so and hand it to the staff member at the back of the room. Purpose of general comment time is to allow members of the public in attendance to address the mayor and council regarding items included on the evening's agenda under the consent calendar or old or new business. For the purpose of general public forum, you're also welcome to comment on any topic pertinent to the business of the city of Sandpoint, not included on the agenda and not anticipated or scheduled for a future public hearing. Please note that council cannot take testimony on any planning or land use related matter outside of an official public hearing. I'd like to make everyone aware that the city does have a policy on public meeting decorum. The rules are posted just outside the chamber's entry doors. In summary, I would ask that everyone please be pleasant and respectful, not make derogatory statements about others, including city staff, not be disorderly and disruptive. No calling out, clapping, or holding up signs. Public comment time is for comments only, no questions or debate. You are welcome to contact me during regular business hours if you have any questions or concerns. This is the only general public comment time that will be offered this evening. Those attending remotely who wish to speak may raise their hand on Zoom at this time. When it's your turn to speak, please state your name, whether you reside within the city limits, and each speaker will have up to 3 minutes. Madam Clerk, please call our first speaker.
First speaker is Stacy Mueller. He's not there. Oh. Next we have Tim Rickard.
Good evening, thank you.
Good evening, Tim.
Tried to get on the agenda and through miscommunication, didn't make it, so I got 3 minutes. I didn't know about the decorum rules. Got some information here. I think it serves me, but it also serves the city because you won't be spending money on something you can't do. Can I hand these out or not?
Sure, you can give them to the clerk and she'll pass them out to us, Tim. And Tim, you're a city resident. I know that. Can you just state that for the record?
Yeah, I'm a city resident on Euclid. Okay, so I guess I need to get going. It's a Euclid right-of-way park. That I tried to get the concept plan. I didn't ever get a plan to know what the concept is. I was told I'd be included in it. I'm a neighbor to it. I see in the budget that there was $30,000 this year for a concept. I don't know if you got the concept or not, but if you look at permitting for the city parks, if you look at page 5 on that, on what I gave you, it's the rules from the Idaho Department of Lands who controls our lake and the waterway and navigable waterway. And the city has to be 25 feet away from littoral lines to do anything, basically. And I don't think you have a survey, and I'm pretty sure you're not 25 feet away. So you can't build steps into the water. You can't put a dock into the water. So it's kind of a moot point. There's also the safety. If you do use the water there coming in there, you're in an active boat lane for two docks. There's pictures in there where the docks are. You'd have swimmers in an active boatway. I think there's better options. I include them. They're my opinion, not anybody else's. But I don't think you should spend a bunch of money if you can't get into the water. And I'm not willing to give up my littoral rights.
Thank you, Mr. Rickard. And just to summarize, you are opposed to the city proceeding with any kind of development of public access to the water there?
Yes, I've mowed and watered that lawn for the last 24 years. Before that, Frank Evans took care of it. Originally, that was all backyard behind Evans's, and he mowed the street there. The trees that are there were planted by the squirrels. Nobody planted a row of trees or anything. The house that some people have complained about that they're encroaching. If you look, there's a permit here from the city from 1973, and they required 0 setbacks. So that house is right on the 60-foot right of way. It's a duplex. The older couple lives there, and their daughter and son-in-law live next door so that they can kind of keep an eye on them. But if you built a park there, there wouldn't be a 5-foot offset or anything. They're on the property line, which the city, if you look at the building permit, it required no setbacks. I just don't think it's the right place. If you went over to the city Memorial Fields, you've already got a ADA right of way down there. It appears to me that it's in compliance. It gets you all the way to the top of the boat docks. You go to the east of that and put a dock in, and you get everything you wanted, I would believe. If you put a dock in a park these days, it has to be ADA compliant, has to have there's a whole bunch of stuff in ADA. It has to have a place for people to get out of their wheelchair, get in a chair, get lowered in the water. The pathway has to be ADA compliant. You've got that. You've got ADA parking up at the top of Memorial Field. You've got an ADA compliant bathroom there. You're sure not going to have an ADA compliant bathroom at the end of Euclid Street at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Ricker, and I'd love to visit with you if you're available during the week sometime, just to
Sure.
see what a alternative to a dock for public access, or at least public use of the public land might be. So I'd love to visit with you. If Jason or someone has your contact, I'd love to set up a meeting to visit.
Okay,
Just
thank
hear
you.
your thoughts. Thanks for coming out.
And next we have Terry Pardini.
Good evening.
Hi, how's everybody? Good to see you. I haven't been around for a while, but I'm back. So, I'm Terry Pardini. I'm a city resident, and I'm very brief tonight. First of all, I want to say I'm sorry I haven't been here for all the parking discussions, because I support it, and I really think that it's something we need to do. And I trust that all the research that you're doing, and it worked and it didn't work, that you're going to come up with a really good solution. So just wanted to tell you, I'm one of few, but I do support it. And the other thing is, real quick, I do not support the recall effort, and wanted you to know that too. So that's it. That's all I had to say.
Thanks.
Have a
Terry.
good night.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Next, Leilani Williams.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Thank you for the last meeting where you guys gave us an opportunity to have another discussion about the parking. As we walked through 49 businesses asked and September 17th, 2025, not to have kiosks, not to have any type of things down First, Second, and Cedar. And as we walked through it again, as it happened, a lot of them were saying, yeah, we still don't want it. And the backlash from the locals and the community really did hurt a lot of our businesses. I don't have an opinion on it. I'm sorry, I did not say I am not a Sandpoint city resident, but I do represent 49 businesses. So in that being said, I hope that you guys do come up with a great plan. I could give you what I would suggest, which would be take all those kiosks and put them at the city beach and the parking lot. Give people more access to, not having to walk around. I did see a lot of people walking around going, well, where's the kiosk that I have to sign up for? And it was a little bit frustrating for people that were going to the beach. I would like to give back my time to Sherry Meekins, because she has some data that she'd like to share, if that's all right.
Ms. Williams, just a quick question. Of the
Yes.
49 businesses, how many are on the bridge, would you guess?
I would say 24.
No,
Oh.
the 49 that you.
Oh, in the Downtown Business
No, the
Association?
49 that you mentioned, how many are on the bridge? Just wild.
I want to say 9.
Thanks. Sure, we can have Ms. Meekins use
Yes,
your
thank-
last minute.
Next we have Rich Simpson.
Hi,
Good evening.
good evening. Yeah, I just wanted to speak a bit on the proposed ordinance amending Title VI parking regulations. Oh,
Rich,
by
are
the
you
way,
a city resident?
no,
Just a-
actually, I live just 6 minutes from downtown, but I'm not officially in the city.
Thanks.
Yes, my first observation with the parking was, once it was implemented, how few people were actually using it. And, normally when you go downtown, it's hard to find a parking place. And as soon as they started implementing it, there were spaces everywhere. And I think it was obvious to me that the majority of the people that I've talked to, and I understand there's been no referendum on this, but to me, it seems pretty obvious that the majority of the people in this area are against the paid parking, especially downtown. I think the beach is another question. I still think it's kind of a bad reflection on the spirit of Sandpoint to have paid parking at the city beach for the first time ever. Nevertheless, one additional concern I have regarding the paid parking was the only one time that I went to and I used the kiosk. I did it on a Wednesday, went to City Beach just for a couple hours, or not even 2 hours. And 2 business days later, my debit card was blocked. And I just got over setting up my new debit card with all the different auto pays I had to do. It was quite an inconvenience. And I have heard of another person that had the same experience with the paid parking. It's not 100%. I'm not able to prove that it was directly a result of that, but my experience showed that it got me, and I'm definitely not going to be using any of the paid parking in the future. I'll just walk from parking further away. Anyway, thank you.
And Rich, you're aware as a county resident, you can buy a year-round pass for $35 to park at City Beach.
Yes, I was aware of that. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Council President.
I don't want to be the one that plays by the rules, but I thought we only gifted time during public hearings.
That is typical. I was trying to be as accommodating of the public that's in the audience as possible. 1 minute. She has
As
1
long
minute.
as the council is agreeable to that gifting, but
Yeah.
Next is Sherry Meekings.
I don't intend to allow people to gift time like broadly, like, oh, I want to give 3 minutes. So.
I don't, right, I wasn't concerned so much about one instance. I just don't want to set a precedent to where we spiral out of control at other meetings or in the future, so.
I'm with you there, Council President.
Well, the good news is I don't think I need that extra minute. I'll talk fast.
It wasn't a personal attack in any way. I was just trying to point out those rules because sometimes we're here till midnight.
I understand. Well, I just want to say good evening, Council and Mayor Grimm. My name is Sherry Meekings. My husband and I, we own Carousel Emporium. It's a women's and men's clothing and gift shop in Sandpoint and Sandpoint Toys. I'm also the founder of Creations for Sandpoint, which is a nonprofit that serves over 50,000 children visits every single year. These shops are all downtown Sandpoint. I've been in business since 2010, and I live in Ponderay. I say all this so that you can understand I'm not here tonight because I want you to hear my opinion, but I'm here so that you can understand that I serve on the front line of our downtown community and I wear many hats. I've been engaging with our community in Sandpoint and surrounding local areas face to face for over 16 years. So my viewpoint I'll share tonight is coming from many types of people doing life, shopping and visiting many different types of businesses in the parking meter zone. After talking to hundreds and hundreds of people since July 1st at work, in the grocery store, running errands, doing life, the consensus I'm here to report is that our community, they don't want the parking meters. 90% of our local shoppers downtown say no to meters, and on First, Second, and Cedar. I've had locals tell me they're so offended they'd rather go to Coeur d'Alene. They'll never step foot in Sandpoint ever again, as long as those meters are there. And so many older members aren't willing to try them. These aren't my opinions, this is feedback. And this is not a few naysayers on social media or hundreds of naysayers on social media. These are people I personally know, people that shop downtown, people that support our off-season economy. These are people that are educated and successful. Some may say that the scenario is a catch-22. The people don't want to support the meters, so they're not putting money in them. But with that decision, they're ultimately banning our mom and pop shops. So the full picture of the situation is small businesses are the ones that are paying the price to implement these parking meters. My concern is how many supporters can we afford to lose downtown to have parking meters? Sales data from the core, that's our 49 businesses that I'm also a member of, are reporting a 20% loss of sales this year thus far. So just imagine adding 10 or 20% to this already down year. It could be devastating to many businesses. For example, if 1 in 10 people, conservatively speaking, ban downtown because they're so offended by these meters, and say an average business owner makes $75,000 per year and suffers a 10% loss, that's pretty easy math. That would be $7,500 for the year. And then if you multiply that by 100 business owners that are on First, Second, and Cedar, we're looking at $750,000 coming out of our local economy, and that's at 10%. So if we run that 2 in 10 people decide to ban downtown because of meters, we're talking people that bring their families to Sandpoint during the summer months. That's when we see all of our locals. That during Christmas, that's when we see all of our locals. Our locals bring them. We're looking at devastating numbers, up into the $1.5 million out of our local economy. These are just things to consider. There's good news to me. I mean, in my opinion, though, you're faced with something that's not necessary or out of your control. You have a choice in this, and it wouldn't be devastating to the city's economics or to the council's efforts thus far. The meters could be moved to City Beach until the community says it's time to put them downtown. They're more accepting. And I ask that you'll consider these points I've brought to your attention and have empathy for the businesses that are being affected by your decisions tonight. And I just want to thank you for your time and service, and thank you for the council members that have reached out to our small businesses. We really appreciate it. And please remember that downtown Sandpoint makes over 3,000 local jobs. A strong economic foundation for our small businesses has a huge ripple effect in our community. And honestly, after all these years hearing the community, I have never experienced this huge number of people vocalizing their dislike for any city matter. And I believe what was envisioned to be or to offer support for our local businesses, I'm concerned it might do the opposite. So thank you for your time.
Next, Tara Brady.
Hello, super nervous. So
Don't be.
my name is Tara Brady. I am a Bonner County resident, but I am also a 4th generation born and raised Sandpoint. I am here today because I am opposed to the parking fees at the City Beach for all of city residents and Bonner County. Growing up here, most of the people didn't have much money. Thankfully, it didn't cost much to live here, and we were able to enjoy all that was around us for free. Had there been fees to use the City Beach, I don't think many people would have been able to utilize it. I learned how to swim there. I've had many birthday parties there, family gatherings over the years. I've had birthday parties for my children down there, something that wouldn't have happened had there been paid parking. I know that the demographics have changed quite a bit here in Sandpoint. There are people moving here that have boats that cost more than people's homes. I would just like to bring a bit of attention to the fact that there still are a large number of low-income residents who are struggling with living expenses here in Sandpoint and Bonner County. The original intent of the Lions members and the entire community who helped make the beach what it is today was that the community had a free place that they could come together and enjoy their town. To many of us, it feels like the heart of this town is being eaten up, sold, and privatized. I personally believe that some of the maintenance, such as resurfacing the parking lot, has been intentionally deferred because there are many people that think that the current beach doesn't fit the new Sandpoint vision. I would really like to propose that initially I would love everybody to be able to park there for free. If that's not something that can be done, I would really like for there to be a free pass that's offered to city residents and Bonner County residents, one free pass. Or also a program that is set up to help the lower income get a free pass so that if they can't afford it, I mean, when you're feeding your family at the food bank, it is kind of hard to pay $20, $35 on something that's frivolous like a pass for parking. The second thing that I would like to discuss is that there have been a lot of talk recently about whose voice in this town matters, and whose doesn't. I'd like to remind people that a large number of Bonner County residents are the multi-generational families of Sandpoint's history. Many of our families were a part of the beginning of Sandpoint. My great-grandfather was the chief of police in the 50s. Just because we choose to live outside of city limits does not mean that this is not still our hometown. Our voices matter. They should not be discredited. We love our hometown. We just want to make sure that we can recognize it in a few years. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara.
Yvonne Arnold.
Hello, Council.
Good evening, Yvonne.
Good evening. Yvonne Arnold, I'm a county resident, and Mr. Tate, you owe a lot of county residents an apology. I am also a property owner multiple times here in the city. I pay a lot of taxes because of the windfall of the economic increase that we have gotten over the last 15 years. So I think all voices do matter. I do want to thank the Parks and Rec people. They're doing a great job now. It was brought to your attention that maybe it had been laxed a little, whether there's no finances or whatever. I did pull around the corner the other morning at 7:15 to my office, and somebody was scrubbing a Big Belly, which I was thrilled. I was like, that's the first time I've seen anybody wash one of those, because they're little disease-ridden boxes that I look at all the time. To the point Mr. Welker said about the trash cans being full at City Beach, they have been that way since the day they were put in. So, and that was not this council's choice. It was a previous council's choice to buy those. But the access to those Big Bellies is this big. So you can't really get anything in them. So people, they send their kids to the trash can with all their bags, and they try and stuff them in, and the kids can't hardly get in them. So they leave the stuff on the sides. So it was inevitable that that would be a problem. So thank you for adding more dumpsters and cans. That's great. Regarding the parking, at this point, you guys, you know, you've already heard the voices of the city and the county. They're not happy. And at some point, you have to say, wow, maybe we didn't make a correct decision to move forward on it as we did. And there's no shame in admitting that it was poorly done and poorly executed. And I'm with, I think you might have said, put them down at the beach so that they're actually accessible and not like hidden away. There's one or two and nobody knows where they're at and how to use them. Maybe use them at the city beach. Although, to this person's point, I believe in the city and the 4 generations of people who have raised this city to actually be accessible to the beach. There's a lot of places on the water you can go. We all know that. You can go down the river, you can go on the other side of the lake, but it is the city beach and it's got nice swimming for little kids. So I am for a permit given to city residents and county residents. I noticed that the Avril company opened up their parking lot to 7B plates at no charge at the old Trinity in Best Western. When a corporation is doing that, you got to take notice. They're looking at what's going on with the residents. So I would just say, pull them out, put them in storage. No shame, and you'll probably win a bunch of points at this point. We're not ready for it. Thank you.
Bastion Pot.
Good evening, Mr. Pott.
Good evening. Yeah, my name is Bastian Pott, and I am a Bonner County resident. I represent a variety of people who live farther out of town, and pretty much the general consensus is regarding the parking that it's not the best idea. And from my perspective, I grew up in my hometown in Arkansas, and they implemented all sorts of parking policies to, try to generate revenue and manage that. And it ultimately just increased the friction of access, and it slowed a lot of the businesses down over long term. And I got to witness that over many, many years. So seeing this happen here and then talking with the other residents that are farther out of town who come frequently to town, it's one of those things that I would wonder whether or not the friction that's added by the paid parking system would be offset by the revenue generated and the whole process around the paid parking. And so from my perspective and all the people that I've spoken with, I would encourage, investigating the paid parking system. And it seems to me the general Idaho way and the people of Sandpoint and the way that things flow here, that we may not actually need that. I've certainly never had any problem parking in town. I've had a great time. I love this area. And yeah, so I just wanted to give the comments and appreciate all that you guys do.
Thanks, Mr. Pot.
Stacy Mueller.
Well, hello, City Council. Here I am again, Stacy Mueller, representing the Cedar Street Bridge. I wasn't going to come today, but I remembered back in September of last year, I'd taken a lot of time to take a poll from our locals on their thoughts about the meters. And, we did an informal poll. I didn't even put a slant on it. I didn't say, yeah, vote yes, vote no. It was, hey, do you want meters in our downtown parking lot, in the downtown park, downtown? And there wasn't one person that said, yeah, we want it. And so I took those results and I brought them here to City Council and I submitted them. There was over 400 people. And I missed giving you guys some of my sheets. And none of that's changed. Matter of fact, it's just amplified. And that's just the heart of what I'm hearing from everybody. It's really been difficult for a lot of the businesses, and I carry that burden on my shoulders. I want everyone to succeed, not just in the bridge, but all up and down downtown. So I think it's been a really, really difficult time since July 1st. It's notably almost every single person that I've talked to that has a business. Their sales were here, going up. July 1st, went down. We've been going up and down a little bit because we just have, July 4th and we have the festival and everything. But what's even harder is that it's just so confusing right now. What's going on? And so we have just a lot of people coming to our town and they're trying to figure it out. And they're law-abiding citizens and they want to make sure they're doing the right thing too, but they can't figure it out either as visitors. So it's, I know you've heard from a lot of people, but downtown on First and Cedar and Second, if we could just not do the meters there, I think that would really help our city and the pulse of the business owners. Thank you.
Casey, just a couple quick questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Since 2 weeks ago in council's directive, we've rolled back to the pre-July 1st. It's like it used to be, signage only.
Yeah.
Is it your intent or your understanding that people are comfortable with that right now?
Yeah, they're still seeing the meters
Yeah.
and they still have a fear that they need to pay for it still. So we get stopped all the time, like, what's going on? I need to do the right thing. I don't understand, So I'm just giving you that feedback.
And Stacy, how many parking spaces does the bridge have for its
0.
businesses? 0. Okay.
0.
Thank you.
That makes it even harder. Thank you.
Thanks, Stacy.
And that looks like that is the last comment.
Excellent. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on, that will conclude the general public comment portion of the meeting. Next is the consent calendar. For the record, the total amount of bills for approval is $2,452,549.56, reflecting $283,718.88 for regular payables, and $1,168,830.68 for payroll. Council, are there any questions or are there any items you wish to remove from the consent calendar? Hearing none, I would call for a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Spiro, second by Schreiber. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Tate,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Torres,
Yes.
Counselor Spiro.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Moving on, old unfinished business. We'll begin with the downtown street parking management options and parking program implementation update. Director Welker will be presenting. Councilwoman Duquette.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just wondering if we would want to do 7 first, as that caused an issue before that it wasn't aligning with the parking plan.
Councilwoman Duquette, you could go either way here. I think you'll learn a lot of information before you vote on number 7 from this action. So I think this is the best way to proceed. Of course, the council can overrule me, but this will provide you all the background, I think, and answer any questions regarding to number 7. Director Welker, please proceed, and thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. I need just a moment to open Zoom here. I'm being joined by Lieutenant Michael Ernie. He is our head of enforcement for the city of Sandpoint. Since a lot of what we're discussing tonight is trade-offs and around how we will manage street parking downtown, enforcement is half of that coin, one side of that coin. So Michael's here to answer any questions you have. Give me one moment, please. Okay. Good. Muted. Okay. Thank you for your patience. So the purpose of tonight's discussion agenda item is to provide for council to provide direction on downtown 2-hour street parking after the pause of the program as implemented on July 1st. We're going to start by having you, the body that directed the pause of the program, clarify some concerns you had. We're going to review some early data from the operation of the kiosks over the 2 weeks that they were on, and we'll provide you with some specific options for implementing. Those are not the only options you have to choose from. Of course, any alternative that you wish to propose could be implemented as well. So that's the direction that we're going to go with this discussion tonight. Before we get started, though, I'd like to just start maybe left to right with an opportunity for you to express what specific concerns did you have with the on-street parking program as it was implemented on July 1st that led to your vote to put the program on pause. So perhaps we can start with Joel. I've put some perhaps discussion points up here. Just give each council member a moment to respond to that question so that we can be informed as a staff and hopefully guide the decision-making process tonight based on some feedback that you can provide.
No problem. Thank you. Yeah, I wasn't prepared for this, so hot seat. And forgive me, I am fighting something, so if my voice is a little raspy, that is why. You're talking about specifically the start of July 1st, is that correct?
Correct. Just the motion 3 weeks ago to pause. What was the concern that led you to vote to pause the implementation of the program that we started on July 1st, correct?
Yeah, I mean, that is pretty multifaceted. I mean, I personally have maybe not talked to as many people as Ms. Sherry over here, but I've talked to quite a few people nonstop, even today in the restaurant. And I would say specifically for me, it was the rollout was difficult. I think the council was under the impression that the rollout wouldn't start till later in the summer, at least for the on-street kiosk. And so I remember that day specifically because it was my day off and I was going to go get food for my family. And I'm seeing everybody really confused at this kiosk. So I parked my car and helped as many people as I could. And I think I contacted you and even the mayor. I can't remember exactly, but it was all wonky. And so that was the beginning of that for my journey and me specifically. Now, my first, being part of city council for 8 years and part of a business, like I understand things don't work out perfectly right away. And there's some confusion, but that was clearly a big one. And especially in the beginning, right, 4th of July weekend, it was a big day. So there was a lot of confusion there. So for me, I wasn't super excited, but I'm not the person that's like, oh, because we had a bad day, therefore kick it to the curb. But that wasn't a good first experience. So after that, I think that because of that implementation so soon, nobody was really ready for that, myself included, that and not knowing fully like, oh, the app wasn't even ready for the on-street parking. Sure, maybe for the city beach and the city lot, but not for that on the 2 hour zones in particular. So that was difficult. And I think that if we had more clarity and maybe were pre-warned sooner, that would have been a lot easier to navigate for us, at least for me, to talk to our customers, because we have a kiosk right in front of our restaurant. So there's a lot to be said to that because everybody's different and North Idaho's different. And for somebody said that they hadn't seen this much uproar ever, being on the dais for 8 years, this is probably my 5th time being a part of something that has been like this. So it's, for me, it was nothing new in that regard. There's always any type of change, you're going to have fear, concern. The people want this or the people want that. I could think of parking. I can think of COVID. That was a fun one. I could think of, the mask stuff. I can think of a lot of things. And I'm saying all that because all that matters. Like throwing this question on us is pretty difficult right now because I would probably need I could talk a long time about this because it's also the psychology of this too. It's not just a parking meter. You have some people that I've talked to a lot of people that actually don't mind it. Talked to a lot of people that really do mind it. I've talked to a lot of people that have legit issues typing into the kiosk. I went every morning and had fun with the kiosk outside and just to mess with it because I wanted firsthand experience how to deal with it so I could talk to people across the street to the parking lot because it's right across from a restaurant. Mess with that one, would talk to people there. So you had people that had legit, they were screwing up and they're not the people, but the kiosk. But a lot of times when I mess with it, I put in my license plate every time and it worked fine. But I can't speak to every kiosk because I didn't try every kiosk. But you also had people that just don't like change and they're not willing to do it. And they're willing to say, well, because it's an inconvenience for me, I am therefore going to boycott or I'm therefore going to not do this. And I'd rather drive to Coeur d'Alene or Bonners Ferry, which is to me is also an inconvenience. But you have to choose your inconvenience. So I take all that data in and and reading the report from 1996, which is really funny. I don't know if people here read the report for the city council, but reading all the articles from 1996 actually gave me a pretty good chuckle because it's literally the same talking points, same arguments, same concerns, same fears. I think the only difference was there's no social media, and there's good with that and there's bad. And so that also puts a caveat on here because a lot of times you're talking to people a lot of people I've talked to had never been to a council meeting or wasn't involved in any of this. So a lot of times you're talking about catching up, how procedure works, because everybody's concerns are different. I think in my opinion, there is this feel that there's a consensus that everybody has the same concern. And although there may be correlations to it, it's not necessarily the same for every person. So it's hard to put for me personally, I can't speak for other council members. I can't speak for everybody here in the building, but I can only talk about my own personal experience. And it is that. For example, last 3 weeks ago when we said, hey, let's go back to the 2 hour old school way, immediately I got questions of, I was actually, or what do I do if I want to stay longer in the 2-hour zone? I said, well, there's nothing you can do. You can get a ticket or you can move at your choice. I've actually had multiple people say that. Of course, not the majority, but there were still some who were like, well, I was looking forward to a different option, which brings us here tonight where we're trying to figure out what to do because I was ready to rip those things out. And we'll see where the chips land tonight. But my personal experience is very diverse. I've been on the phone, like you should check my Verizon bill, quite a bit. So I'm just kidding, it doesn't go up. I have unlimited talking. So
Thank you.
It's a tough question because I can keep going, but I don't know when to stop.
Councilman Tate, if you don't mind.
Thank you. I think unintended consequences were a reason that I chose to vote on this last council meeting. I think there was a lot of confusion. I'm not out like rubbing elbows with people as much as some of the people in this room are. I'm kind of more of a private person, understanding that being on this council makes me more public and you can get posted on Facebook and all sorts of things. But I did hear a lot of confusion. I heard a lot of, I got my permit online. So where do I park downtown? You know, the difference between like the parking lots versus the kiosks downtown. So that was a lot of confusion. I did expect some growing pains moving into this. I did believe in the goals and the motivation behind the parking plan. Based on, you know, the reports of downtown businesses wanting more enforcement. And we probably missed the mark on what enforcement looked like for them. And that's pretty obvious. And that's why we're here today. That's where a lot of people are here today. I believe there was some risk versus reward on doing this parking program and trying to explain, which was very well explained to me, how to help pay for parking lots being repaved and so on and so forth. And I think I really like understood it to a point, but that's just me, not, you know, and I got to kind of go with the will of the people here. And so user experience, if I'm choosing off this list, user experience and business impact would be the only two that, if I could choose two, those would be my top two.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Welker. For me, it was basically the immediate impact on the downtown businesses. I support that corridor very much, and I heard a lot, and it's just, man, I understand that there's a problem, but this is taking money out of these individuals' mouths, and I've heard from talking to the community, I've talked to out-of-staters, and it's not been nice conversations. So for me, it's just the immediate impact that hit it and how do we get them out of that rut, basically. And I don't know, I mean, I know the economy in general is not great as well. So I understand that's impacting, but people are being nickeled and dimed often. And one more nickel and dime, I think this was just the straw that broke the back, and people have had it. So that's my reason.
I didn't vote, so I'll go. That's one too.
It's kind of a chicken way out.
I think the question, Councilman,
Sorry.
to explain why you voted to
Yeah.
pause. So I didn't vote.
Would you have voted? That we're not going there.
Not going.
Okay, yeah, I thought the plan was laid out to help the businesses is what we were told. And the businesses wanted parking in front of their businesses, and people were not being honest about 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours, moving, shuffling. I talked to quite a few businesses. I actually found quite a few businesses that aren't having an issue with this. The rollout was poor. We already talked about that. I think it could have been much better explained, slow rollout. I am not a tech person. I do not like the apps. I do not like my phone. I would not want to work on a kiosk. So my choice was to not buy a permit that would allow me to, would force me to do that, but it wouldn't, because with a resident permit, I wouldn't have to mess with the kiosks. So that isn't easy. Lucky for me, I walk and ride into town. Part of city opposition to issues. I know what that's like. I was opposed as a resident to the last big issue, the Russell building. However, I came to meetings. I voiced my opposition early. I followed. I didn't just show up after it was implemented. So I have a little bit of trouble with that. It's really good if people that are concerned with what is happening, you follow. I know you're busy. We have 2 newspapers, we have a community radio station, and there is a way, if you have internet, you can sign on. Every meeting in the city will be sent right to your email. So I have a hard time with people that say, I didn't know what was happening, but that's neither here nor there. I know people are busy. I have young adult children who are struggling to make ends meet. Yeah, the enforcement, I wasn't sure. I thought we were doing what you asked for, the businesses. And again, I have people that aren't having a problem with it that I've interviewed, and I've talked to a lot of people too. I've gone to some of the businesses that maybe weren't included in the Downtown Business Association. It's always an issue when something is new. I'd love to figure it out the right way. So we'll have to discuss and see what everybody thinks. But those would be my reasons why I wanted it paused or was happy with it being paused, so that we could do this, have a discussion instead of just going ahead. Your turn.
Driver.
Yeah, thanks. I've been against this for quite a while, so it wasn't really a shift from my previous stance. I was just reiterating what I had said at previous meetings. I think a lot of my opposition has to do with the user experience and business impact. Those 2 things are very correlated. Like I've said before, I've lived in places where you had to drive to get to the downtown core, and when you have to pay for parking when you get there, it does feel different. And it might be an insignificant amount of money in the grand scheme of things, but it feels less friendly. And I was concerned this whole time that we were going to see backlash, that people didn't want to visit our downtown, and it happened to happen at a time where there was already an economic downturn, which is possibly the worst possible time for this. Number 2 on the list of reasons would also be policy. I raised concerns when we were talking about the contract with the parking management company that oversized amount of that money was just going to go to the management of parking, and we were adding bureaucracy just for the sake of bureaucracy. If this was some sort of funding solution, that would be one thing, but those street parking kiosks are not going to be the moneymaker, and they required the most capital outlay per spot. To be fair, I was also very vocally against the previous mayor's plan for downtown parking as well. So I've been a vocal critic of parking policy in Sandpoint for a very long time. Enforcement, I think that's maybe the one advantage that those kiosks offer is easier enforcement. The staff report lists citations as if giving out more was a pro, whereas I disagree with that. We don't want to give out citations to people. We want them to enjoy their visit and walk away without a ticket. What we do want is turnover in those spaces. And so, in one sense, offering people the ability to buy more hours defeats that purpose, because now they can stay longer for just a couple dollars. That was probably the lowest on my reasons, but that's all I'll say for now.
Councilwoman Roll.
Well, I'm sure as the whole entire room knows that I did not vote to pause the program. So, but what I did state in that meeting was that I was in favor of educating on the public for the fact that the 2 hours that has always been free for quite some time was still free. And that I also suggested that we instead suspend the enforcement side and educate and educate and educate and clarify to the public, because it was a poor rollout. We did have IT issues, and all of those things did not help the public at all. But I I would agree with Councilwoman Duquette. I have spoken to several business owners. I've gotten quite a number of emails from the public saying that they are in favor of the program. I've had business owners say that they're not having a problem. So I don't have much more to say than that. I think we need to educate, and move forward.
Thank you, Council President Rule. And I didn't vote, but I'll just say, and I probably won't discuss much with you tonight, but as a downtown business owner, sometimes my client visits go beyond 2 hours. Sometimes we'll have a visit, then we'll go out to lunch, then I'll take them to a shop to shop. It's frustrating right now, the 2-hour limit. And I think that's something we need to solve, because there is a need for people to be able to park for more than 2 hours conveniently on at least where my business is located on Cedar. They can find parking and free parking all over town, 3 and 4 hours, of course. And that's what I direct them to do. But it would be nice to have an alternative for people who are staying for more than 2 hours right downtown to have that option. So again, as a downtown business owner, I see the advantage of providing some flexibility there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all. It was helpful to get those perspectives just for us as staff. So what were we directed to do 3 weeks ago? These are the 5 directions that I heard in the motion from 3 weeks ago. Pause on-street kiosk check-in and restore traditional 2-hour time limit enforcement in the downtown core. Develop a parking program privacy and data retention fact sheet. That is included in your packet tonight. That was created in cooperation. I'm not going to present it. It's there for the public to review. It was reviewed by and developed in participation with the Finance Department, the Central Services Department, and importantly, the IPS legal team. They actually came back with a large amount of edits to assure that the statements we were making in that privacy statement are correct and accurate in relation to the IPS privacy policies and their own privacy statement and data retention. So encourage the public to read that. It's about 3 pages. We wanted to try to get down to 1 page. It's not easy to do a fact sheet in 1 page. So that was produced for you tonight. The next direction I received was to develop a cash payment for off-street parking. The option for cash payment in our off-street parking lots. We have looked into getting some MS3 kiosks, they're called. The cashless kiosks are known as the MSX kiosk. The MS3 kiosk is more of a traditional parking kiosk that you've seen for probably 2 decades now, that has credit cards, cash, coins, a cash box that has to be emptied every couple days. Those are available. We can order, and the plan is to possibly, depending on your direction tonight, to order one for the City Beach parking lot, put it next to our most used kiosk at the City Beach parking lot, which some of the public commented. It's absolutely correct that our City Beach kiosks are on busy days generating lines of people waiting to pay. So adding more kiosks to City Beach is definitely advisable, and having a cash pay option there. And then one cash pay kiosk at the city parking lot right in the middle next to our tap only kiosk. So that's something we can absolutely do if council directs us to do that tonight. And then the final direction I received was to develop options for free city resident parking permits. I do not have a specific plan or proposal for that at this time. I would ask that you give us a couple months. We've sold almost 4,000 resident parking permits this year. They're valid through the end of the calendar year. I think it would be prudent to come back with a proposal for free city resident parking permits at a future date, given that we've already sold almost 4,000 of those at this point. So those were the directions I received 3 weeks ago. Tonight, we're going to look more at the street parking model. I just mentioned the cash payment and the free city resident permit. Before we look at utilization data over the 2 weeks that we did operate the kiosks, I wanted to share, and it dawned on me that 2 of the 6 council members weren't here when we did the community around this parking plan between January and May of last year. One of the components of that was a survey in March. It was called the Downtown Parking Satisfaction Survey. We had 1,811 responses, which, as far as I remember, that's the highest response rate we've had to any survey we've done at the time I've been involved in the city. 968 respondents claimed to live in the city of Sandpoint. 578 were in unincorporated Bonner County, and the rest were in other municipalities in Bonner County, our neighboring cities. And this is valid because 73% of those respondents reported needing downtown parking at least 1 to 3 times per week. So almost every day or 1 to 3 times per week, 73% reported that they come into downtown Sandpoint for parking to park at that frequently. And this was just part of our broader outreach. We did meetings with, as Leilani and Stacy remember, the Downtown Business Association, probably 4 or 5 of those, the Chamber of Commerce, every club we could get in front of last year. We called and mailed downtown property owners and had a special meeting with downtown property owners. And then every citizen committee and commission was involved in the development of the parking management plan as well. About 6 months from beginning in January to adoption on June 23rd. So some of the responses from that survey that we revealed, 65% of those 1,800 respondents said that they always or often struggle to find parking downtown during peak times. 68% typically park for 2 hours or less when they come into Sandpoint. 71% said free parking is more important than the convenience of always finding a space. That was crucial feedback because it's what led to us not proposing paid street parking downtown, rather using technology to improve turnover and access and availability to parking. And this is an important one. 86% said they were very or somewhat concerned about future parking challenges as Sandpoint grows. All that points to the fact that it's time to develop a parking management plan for Sandpoint. The city had managed its parking from 1947 through 2016. From 2016 to 2025, we abandoned all parking management when we canceled paid parking at the city lot, which we had all the way up to 2016. So we were now 9 years since not having a parking management plan in town, and the data that we gathered in our survey revealed that there was need to revisit the parking challenges in downtown Sandpoint. So this public outreach identified the problem being that peak period parking is hard to find, and free short-term visits are highly valued, and that there's concern about future parking demand. We developed a policy which was to keep the first 2 hours free on downtown streets and improve turnover on the busiest shopping streets using technology to make time limits more easily enforceable. The July 1st implementation retained free 2-hour parking. It did implement, obviously, the big controversy was the check-in requirement to enable better enforcement, the kiosk app and text check-in requirement. It did also allow for paid extensions to be available for longer stays. So just as a reminder, why was check-in a requirement in this implementation plan? It really comes down to enforcement. Requiring check-in dramatically improved efficiency of enforcement, allowing officers to verify duration of stay on first contact with an automobile. The intent was not to charge for the first 2 hours, it was to make free time limited parking more enforceable so those high demand curbside spaces could turn over for downtown customers. Okay, as I mentioned, we had parking management from 1947 when the first parking meters were installed in downtown Sandpoint through 2016 when we finally eliminated paid parking downtown. The police chief was cleaning out some old files and came across all these old articles, which there's about 6 of them posted in the council packet tonight. Fascinating reading, read them all, pulled out some key quotes. This is from the Parking Task Force reporting by Caroline Lobsinger, who is still the editor of the Daily Beat today, was a junior reporter, I assume, back in 1996. And she attended all these meetings and reported over several months on the hot issue of 1996, which was, big surprise, parking. Some of the quotes that popped out: downtown Sandpoint is home to several dozen businesses, 800 employees, and only 300 paid parking spots, because yes, we had paid parking 30 years ago. It's no wonder many workers have resorted to using on-street parking. That was from the council president and the chair of the task force. The biggest problem continues to be too many spaces are taken up by business owners and employees. A lot of citizens are going back to meters, or a lot of cities are going back to meters. It would generate some revenue that could be used to generate more parking spaces. Meters would also eliminate any question on how long someone has parked in a spot and how much time remains. Sandpoint had paid parking meters up until 1990. This task force was formed 6 years later because of the parking crisis that resulted when those meters were removed. And that is going back to the community outreach we did last year. highly value free parking, 71% valued free parking more than convenience, but using the meters not to collect payment, rather to, exactly as was quoted 30 years ago, eliminate any question on how long someone has parked in a spot and how much time remains. That's what our kiosks enabled. Attempts to avoid on-street parking limits is the biggest problem facing the city. That was our police chief 30 years ago. Couple more quotes that jumped out here. We had the finance director from Coeur d'Alene was involved. I'm not sure. I think Coeur d'Alene had recently implemented a parking management plan, so they were being sought for some advice. In Coeur d'Alene, the finance director was quoted saying, "People now know they can't do the 2-hour shuffle anymore." That was a term that was long been used and still being used for employees who come out and move their cars to another free 2-hour spot, thus occupying 2-hour parking all day. A lot of people pay great lip service to keeping downtown vital, but a lot of those same people park on the street and get as close as they can. That was one Ben Tate, downtown business owner. I think Councilman Tate might know who that is. The question is, who do you serve? The 800 people who work downtown or the 10,000 people who live here and want to come downtown? Another really fascinating takeaway from these 1996 articles was that the city's solution back then was to provide parking permits for downtown business employees and business owners to use the parking lot. The rate for those permits in 1996 was $25 per month. The council's big action in June of 1996 was to lower the price to $15 per month. So the price of that parking permit, which today we offer for $20 per year to $35 a year, was $300 per year and $180 per year. Adjusted for inflation, we're charging 3.1% to 9.1% of the 1996 price for a parking permit that provides all-day employee parking at the downtown lot. So that's what our resident parking permit costs today. It's 3 to 9% what was being charged 30 years ago. So here we are 30 years later. Parking problems still exist. Parking management has been abandoned for the last decade. Council now has the opportunity to move beyond another temporary response and establish a clear enforceable system that balances free short-term access, employee parking, longer visits, and sustainable management of public parking. So we did have some data over the first 2 weeks of the downtown kiosks. So I went into our system and I found it. In case you're wondering, were they being used? There were 4,186 parking sessions initiated in the 2-hour zone over 12 days that the kiosks were active. That's 349 parking sessions per day for an average of 11.25 sessions per kiosk during the 8-hour window from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So that's 31 kiosks being used on average 11 times per day. They were being used. I realized that our 2022 parking study actually calculated the number of parking sessions between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. in the 2-hour zone. And that number was, during the week of July 13th in 2022, 623 parking sessions per day. So if we compare the activity during the first 2 weeks of July and this summer with the activity in the third week of July in 2022, we can estimate that around 56% of people who used our street parking downtown used a kiosk or the app or the text to pay to initiate a parking session. That's shockingly high during a soft launch period. The industry average is around 70% for compliance with street parking, and we were at 56% 2 weeks into the program. So it's not accurate that people were not able to use the kiosks. We had 349 sessions begun at a kiosk per day during the 12 days that they were in operation. Another really interesting number is that 89%, this is exactly the number, 89% of those transactions were for a free 2-hour session and 11% were for additional time. So we had around 500 people choose to buy additional time at a downtown kiosk. Those are 468. Those 468 paid extensions generated $1,290 in revenue over 2 weeks, and they provided 520 additional hours to customers who needed additional time to facilitate their shopping experience downtown. So downtown businesses, those are customers who presumably were willing to pay $4 an hour so that they could come spend more money at your stores. And the kiosks enabled that. Without that option, they would have either risked getting a $50 parking ticket or been forced to leave their hair appointment or their pottery appointment and go move their vehicle to another parking space outside of the 2-hour zone. So here's those numbers for you. 89% used the free courtesy time, 11% chose to pay for extended time. That's a measurable share of customers who chose to pay for extra time. So to the mayor's point, there's value there. People are only willing to pay for something that they value. And that additional time is clearly something that our residents, our customers, our visitors, our tourists, our shoppers demonstrated that they valued. So another key takeaway here is that the program was working as intended during the first 2 weeks of implementation for those who chose to participate in it. And 56% of downtown parkers, give or take, it's not an exact number, it's an estimate, did participate in the parking program as it was implemented. So council's policy choice tonight is whether to preserve the flexibility the kiosks provide or return to strict time limits only. And with that, I've got 3 options that I've developed for you. This was not just, I shouldn't say me, that the team, this was in meetings with the police chief, Michael, Central Services, and our IPS team. The first is nothing new. It's just doing what we did on July 1st. Go back to check-in requirement, free 2 hours, and the option to pay or move out of the 2-hour zone beyond 2 hours. Your staff report goes into far more detail than this PowerPoint, but I did summarize some of the pros and cons. This would be the most efficient for enforcement. We know that's the easiest, quickest way to enforce is if the police just know how long a car's been there when they first check it. It allows the customers to purchase additional time at a kiosk or via mobile app or text to pay, and it is likely to achieve the strongest compliance and turnover. The cons, it restores the model the council paused. It does create that friction for short-term visits, and it can generate citations for failure to check in. So citations are not a good thing. We don't want to encourage citations, and there would be, some percentage of people who either forget to check in or refuse to check in, and they end up getting citations even though they've been there less than 2 hours. So this does create that friction that I think there's a lot of opposition to, but it is the system that was adopted on July 1st. The second option is to go back to strict 2-hour time enforcement, remove kiosks from downtown, require that vehicles are moved after 2 hours, or citation risk. Pros, simple message, 2 hours, no exceptions. Very simple. In theory, if we have most effective enforcement, this could create the highest theoretical turnover. Councilman Schreiber pointed that out. He doesn't necessarily like that people have the option to stay more than 2 hours. Well, in this case, they wouldn't have that option. So you would, assuming we have relatively high compliance or strict enforcement, you'd have the highest turnover. No mistaken assumptions that check-in is required because there would be no kiosks. Cons, this is what I would call the most punitive approach. We'd definitely be issuing the most citations under this program. And there's no legal option for longer downtown visits, and it leaves our kiosk investment without an operating purpose. Some could be repurposed into the City Beach lot for sure, but just estimated monetary cost of removing the kiosk, this is over 3 years, around $150,000 is what the 31 kiosks cost in terms of actual hardware. We made $1,200 per week during the first 2 weeks, so we'd lose approximately $156,000 in revenue, assuming those numbers carried forward over 3 years, and then the cost for labor and materials to actually remove and rehab. So just an estimate, around $316,000 cost of removing those kiosks.
Jason, just sorry to interrupt, but this is basically the status quo except for the removal, because this is what we sit with today.
Right.
Park, free 2 hours, risk of citation.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councilman Schreiber.
that lost revenue amount, that's assuming that we would make the same amount of revenue every week as the busiest week of the year.
I do want to point out that our parking study observed that the street parking, unlike City Beach, is far more stable than, it's a little bit less tourist driven because we have downtown businesses that serve the area community. But that's a correct, that's, I should say you're pointing out a good point. This is an estimate. I don't think we'd make $1,200 every week throughout the year.
Thanks.
So,
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Just real quick, what's the lifeline of the kiosks themselves? How long are they supposed to be around? Like, is it?
They have a 5-year warranty, and I'm not sure
5-year warranty. Okay, cool.
what the operating life necessarily is.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilwoman Duquette.
has anybody checked into, can we recoup any money on any of the kiosks if we did not want them all? Is there like a resale, or will they take them
eBay.
back? Huh?
eBay.
eBay. Not
Put them on Marketplace, I suppose.
doing eBay. I'm just curious, has that been checked into at all?
They won't
They
give our
won't.
money back for the
Right,
kiosk that we
but
now own.
is there like, okay, eBay,
We could look.
Sandpoint
into that.
online.
I mean, we haven't. If that's what you decide, then we will pursue.
I'm just
that.
curious
We'll
if that's
we'll look for every opportunity to get as much.
if that's been checked at all.
Let's go on with option three.
A third option, this is what I would just call a hybrid option. No check-in required, but there's the option to extend your stay. Obviously this is frictionless for the 89% who only use the free 2 hours, and preserves the flexibility for that 11% that needed more time. Preserves the city's kiosk investment, and cons. Clearly, we lose the benefit from an enforcement perspective. We're actually adding the amount to the enforcement cost now because every vehicle will need to be checked against two different lists now. First list, how long have you been in the zone? If that's more than 2 hours, you go to the second list, have you paid for a session of parking? Versus the plan as implemented on July 1st, one list, have you begun your free parking session and have you overstayed your 2 hours? That's all on one list. So that's the con here. Again, clear signage. I'll show you an example of what that signage might look like. Would be needed to avoid confusion. Again, if you give it time, people will learn the system and it will become just the way things are as they were when we had meters in the past. And of course, there will be those who oppose the existence of the kiosks, period, even if it doesn't require check-in. Just the enforcement consideration, and I think I just pointed this out, there is more enforcement labor and cost associated with option three. So as far as what signage might look like, this is an example of what we could do quickly to educate and make people aware that there's no check-in required. Just put it in big letters at the top of each kiosk. Free 2-hour parking. First 2 hours free, no check-in required. But then some instructions for how to extend your stay if you are somebody who has an appointment that's going to last more than 2 hours downtown, or you want to go shopping and not worry about getting a ticket. So this could be applied above each kiosk. We can make these signs and put them below the 2-hour time limit signs downtown. And as far as, what else can we do to try to improve communication and information about our parking plan? This is just one of the small things we've been working on in the last couple weeks. Just a few hours ago, actually, our GIS team. Actually, I need to close this because this is not going to open there. So let me try that again. Something like an interactive. Sorry, let me go to. So what this is it's an interactive GIS parking map. So you can zoom in, you can see individual blocks. It has the rules clearly listed on the map. It's something that I think it's going to require me. Oh, okay. It kicked me out. Sorry. Let me, oh, here it is. Okay. Let me get back into the Zoom meeting. Sorry, guys.
Good.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment while he's doing that?
Sure, as long as it doesn't take us down a rabbit hole, because I'd like to keep the meeting moving.
I'd just like to.
I think there'll be some options to comment once we
Okay.
get the actual potential motion on the table, which is in the staff report.
Here is what I was hoping. So this is a new interactive parking map that our GIS team put together, and it does, show pretty clearly the legend. This is something I think could be helpful, putting it on our parking page on our website. Again, the 3 and 4 hour parking zones, nothing has changed from what we've had for the last 20 or so years, but this does make it clear where the 2 free hours would be. This is not public yet, but this is something that we could make public if we did decide to do so.
Mr. Mayor.
Council President?
Jason, in the
Yep.
3 and 4 hour zones, you might want to add the word free.
Well, I actually had him remove the word free today because it implies that there might be a paid option for additional time as opposed to the 2 hour free zone, which is 2 hours free and then a paid option. So,
Yeah, it could go either way. I see your logic.
yeah,
People like the word free, though.
they do. Okay, let me get back to the meeting here.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman Schreiber.
Yeah, so if we were to remove the kiosks, could parkers, if that's what we're going to call them, still use the app and the text to pay for additional hours? We'll still have that app available because we'll still have it live for the other off-street parking lots, correct?
The app and the text to pay would remain an option, yes. You just wouldn't have the convenience of a kiosk to check in at if you chose to do that.
Thanks.
Okay, so this, I don't take this for what it is. I was a economics teacher, so rubrics were always very helpful. I will admit this is fully objective, so you can assign your own scores if you wish, but I did think it might be helpful just scoring these options if you want to weight them in some way. Again, take it for what it's worth. Let me get rid of this so you can read. So my scoring of these options puts options 1 and 3 at roughly equal in terms of the benefit that they provide versus option 2, which creates some of the red indicates a score of 0 on this rubric, yellow indicates a score of 1, and green indicates a score of 2. This is not peer reviewed by any means, but thought it might be useful because this is useful for me when I go to weigh options. So take it for what it's worth. You can kind of see the different pros and cons in one table here. I'm going to wrap up just by going through a little history story. It was 80 years ago, 79 years ago that Sandpoint first installed parking meters on downtown streets. These charming historic photos of downtown Sandpoint, every one of them includes parking meters going back to the 1940s through the late 80s when the meters were removed in 1990. You can see eras of Sandpoint history where we managed parking downtown. The meters were removed in 1990, and from 1996, we had free street parking and paid off-street parking downtown. In 1996, the parking task force was formed to address, quote, the biggest problem, too many spaces taken up by business owners and employees. Restoring meters is explored, and the monthly rate at the downtown lot was reduced to try to get more downtown employees to park at that downtown lot. In 2016, the previous mayor made the downtown city parking lot free. And in 2022, we did a parking study that showed an average of 97% occupancy on downtown streets during the midweek peak summer hours. That is evidence of a failed parking system. 85% is the golden number that you want to achieve in parking management. Downtown streets were at 97%, and the parking lot wasn't far behind. So another number I put in here was 2025 when the city spent $540,000 of taxpayer money to resurface the city parking lot. There was no revenue from parking to put towards that because we hadn't charged in 9 years at that point. So just another important reminder there that it's taxpayers who bear the burden of maintaining this infrastructure when there's no opportunity for the users of the facilities to pay for them. In July of 2026, we launched the parking management plan, and 14 days later, we put it on pause for downtown streets. So just to remind you that downtown parking management has been a recurring challenge in Sandpoint since the vehicle arrived in Sandpoint. Council now has the opportunity to implement a durable solution to a longstanding problem.
Thank you so much, Director Welker. I appreciate all the work you've done on this. And council, let's go around the horn and get let's just do a minute or two, sort of where you're at, thoughts, questions. You got 3 options in the council packet for motions to direct myself and staff on this issue. Of course, there's alternative direction too, as Councilman Schreiber was suggesting, which is no kiosk, kind of a hybrid of, I think, number 1 with just the app if you want to extend. But we started with Joel before. Deb, do you want to start this time on the left? We'll come down this way.
Sure, why not?
Have the clerk do a random call if you want.
No, she doesn't need to do a random call. If you want to get my temperature, I still would like to stick with what we originally decided and approved our parking management plan and get the data and see how that reflects. I'm open to hear what other counselors have to say. I think I've heard a lot of what they have to say. So I don't really have much to add. I think we've heard a lot of talking already.
So to clarify, that's sort of an option one you're kind of would go with?
Yes, I could maybe be convinced into option 3.
Scott?
Yeah, thanks. I think the staff report nails the advantages of option 2, that being the simple public messaging and no uncertainty about whether curb parking is paid. And those are my prime concerns about leaving the kiosks, is the confusion and the effect on the feel of our downtown. So yeah, I feel that option 2 is the way to go, along with allowing for app and text extended visits. I also had some other thoughts. I like that it was put in the staff report that that staff will develop a plan for free permits for city residents beginning in 2027. I think that does make sense as a good timeline for that, being as people have already paid for permits. But next calendar year, we need to have a system for free permits for city residents. I also liked the idea that one of the public commenters gave, which was hardship passes for Bonner County residents. I think that we need to put bookends on this parking plan. I think paid parking should probably end on September 15th and probably not start before June 1st of next year. I also think that we should reinstate the parking committee that's identified in Title II, Chapter 8 of our code, to be the public's voice going forward on this matter.
Thanks, Councilman Trevor. Councilwoman Duquette?
Before I share, would you explain the app and text extended visits to me?
Sure.
Being not an app and text person.
Sure. So right now you have 3 options. You can extend your stay with the kiosk. You can
Just to
extend.
clarify, right now, it's 2-hour parking only.
Okay, fair enough. Option 1 or option 3, you would have 3 options. The kiosk, you could text with your phone and extend that way, or you can download the app onto your phone and extend that way. If we don't have the kiosk, you can still use the other 2 options.
You can. I guess I don't understand how you could do that.
There would be signage that says 2-hour free parking. Any stay along beyond that requires payment via text or app. And you'd have to go either take a picture of the QR code.
Oh, QR.
So these 3 options, you would just
Gotcha.
cross out option 3. And the only way to extend your stay would be downloading the app or texting a number with the code 77447.
I don't hate that, Councilman Schreiber. I just gotta say, it gives that option for people who want to stay longer.
I do have a lot to say. I think my comment that I wanted to make earlier was beware of a 7B free parking by Averill, because when they make their building, you're not going to park. I'm saying you're not, they brought that up. You're not going to park free there. I'm just saying. In a letter to me, I was asked if I was with my constituents or against. Before I deliberate and vote on this, and I had to write this down because, I get rather emotional. I would like to thank my constituents, my real constituents, who are the city residents who actually voted and elected for me to fill this position. I want to thank them for their rational, clear-headed thinking and for their support and freely given thanks shared with me when I face hard decisions. They understand that I may not always satisfy everyone's wishes, may not win support of other counselors, but that I continue to try and keep Sandpoint real, as was my promise. They have volunteered to work on weeds in the swales. They help me with my recycle bins. They're problem solvers. They're not complainers. None of them have contacted me with complaints, threats of recall, or called me names, but contacted me with suggestions or thoughtful opinions, It's all anyone can ask for. They get involved in issues up front. Those that I asked point blank what they thought of the parking plan shared, change is hard. And we know we can't go back 40 or 50 years ago or longer, as some have been here, but they're willing to go along with the reasoning and understanding of the probable need for a parking plan. We all love this town and community and want to support our businesses. I just feel like I had to say that. A soap opera, perhaps. My options I have been given, people have offered a lot of suggestions. Take off the kiosks at the Bay Trail because it's barely a parking lot. One pass for a family so that they can switch a pass from vehicle to vehicle. I don't know how you would do that. No pay for city taxpayers. I've asked for that from the beginning, especially at City Beach. Cash, who empties the cash? I'm concerned about. Okay, I guess I'm concerned about vandals. I hate to think our city is going there. Could we retroact people's permits? Like people complained that they got a permit now, they've already lost half of the year. I know your explanation was they already had free parking. Is there some way we can do that? These are all options and questions people have asked me. Let's see. Option for a day use pass. Does the city lot offer 2 hours free? Seasonal, is that an option? I'm questioning after 3-year IPS contract, what happens? Are there any issues now with the IPS contract if we change kiosks, etc.? Visible resource officers are requested for a while in your vests, walk in the streets, helping people understand. These are options, ideas my constituents have offered to help with this. Let me see. I'm sure there were more. Restart the parking committee is a great idea. Passes for limited incomes. A fund, maybe, raise a fund to help with that. Passes for, or somebody buy a pass, give a pass. I know we talked about those options. All of those things, I think, need to be involved in any decision. And I don't know how we get answers to all those. So.
Thank you, Councilwoman Duquette.
It's a mouthful.
Comments?
It's a headful. Can't help it.
In the event I get to vote on this, I'll just say, echoing Councilwoman Duquette's comments, I've received about 25 public comments on this. 3 of them were from city residents, folks who elected me. All the rest were from county residents. In addition, I've received probably about a dozen emails from constituents, city residents, city taxpayers, supporting and thanking us all for the work we do. And at the heart of this is 2 things for me. One, Sandpoint residents pay city taxes of about $2,500 to $3,000 per year on their houses that county residents don't pay. And we are charged with upkeeping and maintaining all these amenities for a population of about 50,000 people. And that just doesn't seem fair or right to me. I was raised to believe you pay for what you use and you contribute when you can. So I think this parking plan, especially at the beach and the city lot, makes perfect sense. I've observed over the last month downtown at the beach for the first time in over about 17 years. I've seen availability at City Beach. I don't know if that's the parking program or not, but for the first time when I go down there, there's actually space and I can park and enjoy the beach as a city resident, something that I pay for. I like the idea of extending hours. I think that's important for people who want to do that. I like the simplicity of just signage. And I'm kind of warming to Councilman Schreiber's idea of just signage with an opportunity to extend by text or app. So that's where I sit right now. And I also fully support re-implementing the parking committee so that we have a balanced group who can advise us on their thoughts on this subject. Councilman Torres.
Last week I went downtown and met with basically everybody, all the businesses that had kiosk in front of them. And, you know, it was, some were okay with it and some were basically concerned that it was scaring their customers away. And the conversations that also came up was that the business had to educate the customers on how to utilize the services. From my perspective, businesses need to be in business to make money, not educate people on how to work parking meters. So that's a concern of mine. I really do. Option 2 from my perspective is keep it simple. The KISS theory. But I do, however, appreciate the idea of utilizing the app. There are individuals in this community that are technically savvy and would love the option to do something like that. But with regards to the kiosks themselves, as I've said before, the time is coming for us to have with everything that's growing in this community, the disorganization of parking is coming even more than we're going to want. And we have these assets, and I think that once the community reaches out to us and says we can't find parking anymore, we'll be available to put those out there. But my perspective right now is option 2.
Option 2 with the amendment of the extension option?
With the extension of the text and.
My turn.
Councilman Tate, I'm sorry, yes.
So I'm new to this. I don't like being on stage.
Nobody does.
Just like
Sir.
Tara said. And so first and foremost, I said some statements last meeting that came out wrong. If you know me, I have a foot in the mouth problem. And I mean well, and I think I just got kind of caught up in the drama and the emotions and all this stuff. And kind of what Mayor Grimm had said, you know, learning so much about how cities are run, and I want to do such a good job because I'm kind of a perfectionist and hard worker and trying to like represent the city, et cetera, et cetera. And what Tara said about the county and how people from the county built the city, and you know, that was profound for me to hear that. And I think that affordability is a big thing. I work in mental health. I work with Medicaid. I work with people that can't even afford stuff. I see things. I know things that about the struggles of our community, and so I get it. And I ran on being a listener. So what I'm doing with what I choose to do today is to listen. And I know we can pause things and then we can revisit things, and that's the beauty of all this. From what I'm gathering, because a lot of this stuff happened pre Josh and I on council. So you know, what I'm hearing is downtown businesses were worried about the parking. The parking study said the average person in the spot was 5.5 hours. I think I quoted that right. And majority of those people were employees and business owners. And it's no secret that my family's owned a business in Sandpoint for 36 years. And I'm going to tell on them, but I know my parents have both abused the parking thing. Like, I've seen it. I've heard my dad talk about the parking from when I was 4 years old. Like, they don't like to walk very far sometimes. And like, we're Americans, I guess, but they abused it just like it sounds like other people did in the parking plan. So what it sounds like the council had done, and what I thought we were doing, was listening to the community, especially the downtown businesses, because that's the economic hub of our town. They employ many people. We, you know, create tax revenue for the county, et cetera, you know, from the county for the city, et cetera. We missed the mark. I think we missed the mark. I'm confident to say that, and I'm willing to be humble and say that. I would be very willing to listen to the downtown businesses, maybe on a more organized basis where all of them can participate and all of them can track their numbers and see what parking looks like and what business looks like. And you know, I'd love to make them happy, because you know, they're happy, we're happy, all's good. But then the last couple things, the city and county permits, I'd love to make those free. I know it costs money to prove that you're a city resident and to prove that you're a county resident. And I know Jason doesn't have a way to do that yet, but I think we can work on that to just roll that in.
I would just point out, I have nothing to do with that. That's not me that makes the permits. It's,
Okay.
I just don't appreciate being identified as Jason
Okay.
having the ability to do that, as if I have
Okay.
any ability to do anything. It's you all who have the ability
For
to do
sure.
whatever
Well,
you want.
I would love Jason to help us formulate a plan to make the permit situation easy. So Bonner County residents can get it very easily. I know logging in and getting it on the website was complicated even for me, and I'm kind of a millennial, I guess.
Joe, can you just clarify there, you want the city to pay for parking or to provide parking to all Bonner County residents at the beach?
I think that it's important. Yeah. I think it's important to, you know, I think it should be made affordable. I don't know if I'm gonna quote, just say straight up, we pay for everything, but I think it needs to be affordable. It needs to be a lot easier to get. And I think that we don't see as much as our constituents and residents that live in the county see in their stories of the technology and the interfacing and all that stuff is scary for some people. They don't like it. And it's different, it's new, it's changing, and you know, our reality here is a little bit different than, you know, up Pack River or, you know, in Sago or whatever. So
I see my tax bill
yeah.
as a city resident, $3,000.
Yeah. Well, we can agree to disagree. And then the boat launch fees for city and county. I understand the county has boat launches throughout, and those are free. But I could imagine why people want to launch their boat at the city beach because they have families and it's fun and, you know, all the things. So there's just some things that unintended consequences I think that we did not see, and we're hearing them now. So I'd be willing to listen to them.
Councilman Spear?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'd like to clear something up. There will always be education, no matter which option we choose. You're going to need, we need to choose and solidify a path forward and start educating better, whether it's option 1, 2, or 3. To think that one option you're not going to need to educate anybody, I think is naive. And that's just reality. That's just part of life. Anytime you have a business or anything you're doing different, you're going to have to educate, and that's okay. That's part of the deal. So that being said, I got some notes here. I believe I've been very transparent with those who I've talked to about what I believe. I don't think I've shied away from any conversation, and to the contrary, I actually have welcomed the conversations, and I'm very proud of that. And I think we've had some good conversations through this. I've heard the mayor mention that he has plans to reinstitute the parking task force. I heard that on the radio, so I got an email today about that, and I think that's a great thing. And from the beginning, the meetings, credit to Councilwoman Duquette, who is the one that stated she wanted to see free parking passes at the very least for the citizens. So that's nothing new in my mind from the beginning. That's always been a path forward as we move forward with whatever parking plan we choose. I just want to make sure. I was asked from a business owner he did not get to email everybody. He reached out to me right before the meeting to say something about which proposal he wants. Would that be inappropriate? Just to express it as feedback. Awesome. Yeah. So I had, he wanted me to mention his name. Bob at City Beach Organics reached out to me and said he wasn't able to message everybody, and he really supports option 3 and keeping the kiosks there, him and some other businesses as well. Not all, but he actually did mention kiosks in particular. So I just told him that I would make that known. Last meeting, I was ready to get rid of the kiosk and didn't even consider an option 3. That's why I was thankful for the table of the ordinance. Kudos to Councilman Schreiber. Gave time to examine and see how things went. Things got much better after that from my perspective. Option 3 is able to satisfy almost every single person. It will not satisfy those who purely don't want to see a kiosk for whichever reason. I believe that's the best option we have for now, and we continue to adjust. We can always resort back to option 2. With that being said, I actually would like to move forward with the motion and let the chips fall where they may, and I respect each council member's vote tonight, and that is why we are here. So I move to direct staff to implement option 3 for a 6-month trial period, 2 hours of free downtown street parking without check-in, with optional paid extension available through the kiosk, mobile application, or text-to-pay system, and return to the council with an evaluation of utilization, turnover, occupancy, paid extension, citations, enforcement labor, customer feedback, and operation and performance with the continual communication with the Downtown Business Association and other businesses downtown. That is mine today.
Motion by Councilman Spiro. Is there a second? Second by Council President Rule.
Real quick.
Moving on to discussion. It's in the staff report on page right here, if you'd like to see it.
I just have a question about, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Councilman.
So you're wanting 6 months, and that, are we gonna include shoulder season during that time then?
I am willing to amend the motion. I don't remember the particular dates. I think it was Councilman Schreiber that mentioned it. Did you mention?
June 15th, September 15th to June 1st.
I'm open to discussion on those. That was just my first stab at it.
Okay, then I would like to hear discussion first, and if I'm able to amend my motion after that, then I'd be willing to do that.
Let's hear some discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
the way I understood this when we went through the parking management, that we were going to have the opportunity as needed to continue to adjust by season, by occupancy, and all those other variables. So I would lean away from making solid hard dates, knowing that maybe we want to start that September 1. Maybe we want to make that area of non-enforcement, shall we say, larger or smaller or fluctuate. So I just know that that is one of the things that was offered, is that it can always be dynamic pricing. It can always be dynamic. So that's something that I would, again, shy away from having solid timeframes.
You're correct, Councilwoman Rule, that the council has the ability to direct staff when these go into place. I too would agree that more flexible. Before you continue your discussions, though, I just want to emphasize, I feel like our business, our visitors, our residents have been through a lot. I would also, as the deliberations go on, discussion goes on, suggest that we not make any more changes until the parking committee can get set up, kind of leave it status quo. Too many changes are going to whiplash people. I'm sensitive to that. Maybe we just carry forward status quo until parking committee can get up to speed as soon as possible and give you some direction, with the ultimate goal of going towards option 3.
Could you explain status quo?
So status quo right now is the kiosks are turned off. It's signage regulation. You are allowed 2 hours in the downtown period per day, no matter if you move spaces or not.
I'm sorry, the kiosks are still up, but
They're
not
up, they're not.
operable.
There's no signage saying you have to use them. And they just, status quo is what's happening in the last 3 weeks since your last meeting.
That was fairly confusing, I hear, to people because they didn't know if they had to use the kiosks or not use the kiosks.
Probably put stickers.
Mayor, just to clarify, you can't use a kiosk right now. If you go to touch the screen,
Well, it
it
won't
just
work.
says free
Okay.
2-hour parking. You can't
Okay.
enter your license plate. You
You
can't
can
touch the screen. It just says
Which
2-hour
I've
parking.
worked on the kiosks. I have no clue.
Let's continue
Mr.
discussion.
Mayor, just real quick, I just want to make sure that you're communicating properly to Councilwoman Duquette. You said the status quo is the kiosks would stay off. Is that what you just?
They're off right now. I'm
Yeah,
I'm concerned that we're going to whipsaw people back and forth every month and have a different thing. Let's just let it settle till we get the parking committee with the goal of going towards option 3, get some feedback from them on dates and things.
Understood.
And that's still, we still have City Beach and the employee lot. That's going to still.
That would be
focused on.
paid, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is just on street.
Perfect.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I guess thank you. That is, that is essentially option 2 to some degree, except for instead of the kiosk being removed, they're just non-functioning. So option 3 is to actually give people if you're going to be giving citations in a 2-hour zone, regardless if it's option 2 or option 3, the whole point of option 3, the difference is you're giving them an option to stay longer for that 11% or what have you.
Correct.
So
Correct.
the status quo wouldn't be they would be non-functioning, but there, the new status quo would be they are there. You do not have to use them, but if you can ignore them all you want, you're responsible for your 2 hours. However, if you choose to stay longer, you therefore now have the option whether text, app, or use the kiosks to extend your time.
Under the current.
Under the current motion, yeah, the current motion doesn't allow to just leave them off.
That's correct. I just wanted
That
you
would
to,
be more whiplash leaving them. So in that case, let's just go to option 2. That'd be the only other. So
I think the difference is option 3 kind of lets everyone know they're going to stay. We have this direction to work with the parking committee to come up with this hybrid. But I guess what I'm fearful and want to avoid is the paper coming out tomorrow saying, starting some date, there's going to be a new policy. I'd like to kind of just get through this season.
well, it is a new policy, and you're never going to be able to control what the newspaper says. This conversation makes it far more confusing than what was just presented. To give people the option, the whole point of the 6-month trial is that the committee is therefore able to collect more data, working with whoever is chosen on the committee and the downtown businesses to reconvene in 6 months if that's time is doable. And at that time, it might be like, hey, we need another 6 months, or I don't know. But at least at that point, you'll get some proper feedback, and then we can move forward from there. And it may be resorting back to option 2, or option 3 may not even pass right now. I'm throwing a motion out there, respect y'all's decision, and we just move forward.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw out that potential amendment, which is let's just calm the waters and keep it as is.
And with all due respect, if you would have left it at that, I think it would have been a lot more clear.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilman Trevor.
I think what the community and our visitors need right now is clarity. And I think setting a date does give that clarity. And if we need to change that date in the future, we absolutely can, just like we just said we could. But I think knowing what those dates are going to be right now, even if they're not the same as next year, I also think it's going to take quite a while for you to get the parking committee up and running. So we can't wait months to have these decisions made. The other point of clarity is if those kiosks are gone, then there's no confusion about what the use of those kiosks are. So if we want clarity in our community, that's how we accomplish that.
Councilwoman Duquette?
What is required, what, to remove the kiosks, what is needed? What would we do? What happens? Pay IPS to come back and take them out since they put them in? What does it do to the contract with IPS? That's, I get it, but that's not clear to me.
I'm going to defer to Jason. I imagine it means staff time to go and unbolt and remove them and fill in the cement. Not too worried about the contract with IPS as far as I understand it. It's based on the utilization we bought them, so it's just based on the charges with the swipes or the use. Jason, any other thoughts? So I guess to answer your question, Councilwoman Duquette, staff time to remove and repair the kiosk.
I get looking at money, how much more is it going to cost taxpayers?
I think you said about $10,000 to remove them.
And then what do we do with them?
We would augment and add some to City Beach and the city parking lot to make them more frequent and more available down there. And then we'd hold some for replacement if some went bad, and then we'd probably try to sell the rest or probably pause until the parking committee can move forward.
I do know that, in my opinion, and the people I queried at the City Beach, it is not clear. They don't see the kiosks. They don't see signs telling them. And that's no fault of anybody's. It's just, that's what I heard when I talked to some people down at the beach who had no idea they had to pay. And signage, again, signage would be important for the beach. And if we're going to put kiosks down there, I think that would help people understand that if that's what we want to do. no idea what we want.
Councilman Torres?
As long as.
I feel like I've said everything I needed to say.
Councilman Tate?
Yeah, thank you. So just, I guess I'm just asking Joel for his motion was to, in your motivation here is to have the kiosk still present, option to continue to buy more hours if you want them.
Via text, app, or
Got it. Okay. And that feels like we are trying to have like a win-win for people where there's no check-in necessary. The unsightly vision of a kiosk still will be there. However,
that's supposed to matter of perspective. Like,
Yeah.
I could care less about looking at them. That doesn't affect me personally.
yeah,
Like,
I'm just hearing the
Yeah, many of those people, and I'm also hearing business owners say they don't even notice they're there. I mean, some
Right.
council members have even said that, like, and that's a matter of perspective on that one.
okay. So with your
Like, I
mo
was ready to rip them up last meeting, and then I got paid, and then
Sure. So basically what we're kind of saying here is that if we kept the kiosks, but don't have to use them if you don't want them.
Yeah.
And then try to set a time limit on when this parking committee can get together and really get everything in order with as much data as they can gather.
That's in the motion. Yeah, it's in the motion.
6 months. Okay.
It's in the motion, and
Mm,
if y'all voted down and go to option 2, I'm not gonna lose any sleep. It's fine.
And why would you not have to use them if they're there? Because
Because the police would come by and take the valve stem, what they're doing now. If the car is there, it starts its 2 hours. If they come back 2 hours and 1 minute later and they haven't checked in, they're gonna get a ticket. But after 2 hours, if they want to
see.
stay longer,
That's
they can
option
use the
3.
kiosk. Yes, that's the motion, option 3.
I got you, but there was a lot to that.
All right, we've heard from everyone.
You have not, I made the motion. but I
Oh,
wasn't
sorry,
able to-
sorry.
Okay.
So do you repeat your motion, please?
I'll repeat
If
my
you
motion,
can.
then I'll say a couple of things. So I said I move to direct staff, and it's in our staff report.
Okay.
To direct
so
staff to
It's
implement.
number 3?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, I can read that.
So would you like me to repeat it or not?
First 2 hours remain. Shall we share out loud what it is?
I can read it. The motion was to direct staff to implement option 3 for a 6-month trial period. 2 hours of free downtown street parking without check-in, with optional paid extensions available through the kiosk, mobile app, and text-to-pay system, and to return to council with an evaluation of utilization, turnover, occupancy paid extensions, citations, enforcement labor, customer feedback, and operational performance.
The only caveat there is we had a possible amendment to the timing of,
Turn it all off.
correct. If I can, am I allowed to clarify a clarifying question for Councilman Schreiber?
Sure.
Are you talking about the lot and the city beach as well, or just the main downtown 2-hour zone?
The 2-hour zone under my proposal would remain year-round without any sort of kiosks, just as it has always
No,
been.
no, I'm talking about the,
City beach.
like if option 3 was to pass tonight, if I was to make an amendment to it, what dates are you asking for to shut the kiosk off? Or are you talking about no implementation at all anywhere? I just want to clarify. I don't fully understand. But like-
September 15th to June
So
1st.
all kiosk off, no text to pay, like you're talking clean slate, everything. Free as you go. Are we still implementing in the 2-hour zone? Citations? No.
My proposal didn't include any of the
Not your
street
proposal,
parking, so.
An amendment, okay.
So my proposal was to only have kiosks at the off-street parking, so.
Correct.
Your question isn't really
Okay,
valid
so I won't
for-
make
for
any
my
amendments.
proposal.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
All right, we clear?
Thank you.
Good. All right, so we roll call vote.
Somebody's.
Counselor Duquette,
No.
Counselor Sparrow,
Yes.
Counselor Tate,
Temperature check. I think we just need to pause on the kiosk use. So I'm just going to vote no.
Counselor Schreiber,
No.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Torres,
No.
Mr. Mayor, motion fails.
All right, council members, is there a alternative motion someone would like to make?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilman Schreiber.
I move to direct staff to discontinue use of the downtown street parking kiosks, remove the option to purchase additional curbside time via kiosk, but include the option to purchase additional time via text and app, and administer the downtown 2-hour zone as a strict, that's not relevant. As a 2 hours, how am I gonna reword this? As a 2-hour maximum zone unless additional time has been purchased via text or app through the city authorized observation and enforcement methods. With paid parking at the off-street lots ending on September 15th, ending by September 15th, and not restarting before June 1st. So that gives us a little leeway there. And instruct staff to move forward with the plan for free permits for city residents beginning in 2027 and a hardship pass for Bonner County residents, and to reinstate the parking committee per Title II, Chapter 8.
Is a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Schreiber, second by Tate, was that? All right, any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Spiro.
I'm gonna pretend I heard all that. Did you mention kiosk? I thought I heard you say the word kiosk. Am I wrong?
I can summarize.
Oh, okay, sorry, I just want to make sure. And I want to make sure to clarify before we vote. And you're saying with those timing, no paid, the beach and the lot would be free for all, is that correct?
He's saying the beach and the city lot would end charging on September 15th and not start again charging until June 1st of 2027.
One of my only concerns with that, one of my concerns would be if the hotel gets built and a hotel gets built, anything, and there's an overflow and they're using that parking space. It's just something to consider.
Yep, we can always come back and address that, Councilman Spiro, but it's a good point. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Council President.
So I would just like to point out that when we had our discussions about the parking management plan and we approved this many, many months ago, that part of the point of having the kiosks is because a lot of people don't like the apps and don't like to interface with their phone. So it was to give them a third option so they did not have to do that. That was one of the reasons we spent the time to have a kiosk system, because there are other systems out there and available, where you can just scan QR codes and there are no kiosks. So I just want to take you back to why we originally decided to go with a kiosk system, so people didn't have to interface. If people don't have smartphones, if people only have flip phones, that was one of the complaints that we got, and that's one of the reasons we went with the kiosk system. I appreciate that the Bonner County residents use the city beach. I appreciate the fact that many of their relatives built houses in the Sandpoint city limits and paid Sandpoint city taxes for many, many years. Nothing is free. That does not, just because you had relatives here, allow you to take advantage of the city residents that live here and pay for that. We pay for the toilet paper, we pay the employees, we pay for the trash pickup, we do all those things. And whether or not you're frustrated, the reality is I sit up here to represent the citizens of Sandpoint who elected me. I am open to city residents, if we still have a paid system, having a hardship pass for city residents that live within city limits. My suggestion to county residents would be to park your car elsewhere, ride your bike into town, and you don't have to worry about it. But to take advantage of the city residents, I think is unfair. I think it's not the great community of Sandpoint citizens that we talk about, how everyone supports everybody else. So that is sort of what I have to say about that piece of it. And I'll stop there.
Thank you, President Rule. Any other discussion? Go ahead, legal.
There were multiple components to that motion. It will, and because they're only allowed yes or no for the entire thing, it might be important to go through all of those pieces again so that everybody's really clear on what they're voting on.
Sure. I think I can summarize it. Kyle, get me if I'm wrong. It's a blended option 2 that would remove kiosk on the downtown streets, but also provide an option for extended stay via text to pay or app. The city lots, the beach and the city lot and the Bridge Street lot would remain as permit parking with kiosk, and those would end on, that charge would end on September 15th and not to start again before June 1st. And similarly, staff would proceed with a free residential pass for 2027 for those off-street lots and a hardship pass for city residents program for the off-street lots.
Mr. Mayor, he said county residents.
Did you say county?
Yeah, the hardship of Bonner County.
And finally, to implement the parking committee.
Mr. Mayor, can we take a 3-minute recess?
You bet. 3-minute recess. We'll return at 8 o'clock.
Defend myself on my own page.
Reconvening at 7:59.
Happy here, happy.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Schreiber.
I'd like to amend my motion to remove the dates for the start and end of the paid parking.
The maker of the motion has moved to amend. Is the second of the motion agreeable to that? Excellent. So just in summary now, the motion is to remove the kiosk from on-street. So that'd be Cedar, Second, First, and Pine Church. 2-hour zone there, free, no anything. You get a ticket if you go beyond 2 hours, but you do have the option to either text to pay or scan signs that we'll have to put up that will allow you to extend your stay in those zones. Further, that the dates have been removed for the city lot that will continue. The beach lot and the city lot will be continued this year. And staff progressed with a 2027 annual pass for free for city residents and a hardship for county residents. Do I have that right?
What about a
Councilman Schreiber?
hardship for city res? Oh, they'd be free. Never mind. Got it.
Do I have that right, Councilman Schreiber?
Yeah, the only piece that you're missing was reinstating the parking committee.
Oh, and.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're all clear. This will
So,
be.
no, then may I ask questions about the other options, the other ideas that? Okay, thank you.
Can we get
'Cause I think-
clarification for who seconded the amendment?
I did.
Like 4 people.
They need that.
All right.
You can have it.
All right. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Schreiber?
Yes.
Counselor Tate?
Yes.
Counselor Duquette?
Yes.
Counselor Spiro?
Real quick, I want to say, staff, I know that we have not given you clear directive, which is one reason you haven't been spending money on signs. So I look forward to seeing the clear signage here in the future, and I'm going to vote yes.
Counselor Rule?
No.
Counselor Torres?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'm going to call for a 5-minute break for water and bathrooms. We convene at 8:07.
I could find it.
Reconvening at 8:11.
Done.
No, you're done. For yourself, now. Because you know who does it.
All right, council members, next on the agenda is item 7, which is the ordinance amending Title 6 parking regulations to implement the city's parking management program. Item on the agenda for deliberation and discussion on the proposed ordinance. Council, the ordinance is before you in your staff reports. Summary, this ordinance is in part tied to the parking management plan. It corrects some and aligns the language, clarifying city beach, city parking lot, particularly city parking lot is not free. Secondarily, it addresses the way that people are informed of the 2-hour parking zone. It should be fairly clear. Director Welker's worked hard with legal staff and others on this ordinance.
The face.
What's going on, Pam? Councilwoman Duquette?
I'm not talking to anybody.
Order, please.
The faces.
Order, please.
What's with the face?
Order, please. Order, please. Council, are there any questions on the proposed ordinance?
Yeah.
Or any deliberation?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilman Trevor.
are any of these changes unnecessary given the vote on the last item?
Councilman Trevor, in my opinion, they're all to align the code to make sure it's consistent with the parking management plan and the previous item that you addressed. I would defer to legal if there's any other questions.
Sure, we reviewed all 3 options ahead of time to make sure that whichever way the council decided to go tonight, that the code changes were still consistent. Your options anyways, and even
Okay.
your hybrid, so. You still have to define non-metered and metered. You still have to identify your paid loss, and that's what the code is for.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other council discussion or deliberation on item 7?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Duquette.
I have to find my notes and settle down. Yes. On some of the pages, I had some questions. Let me pull up the document.
Oh, Chief.
Item 7. Where does item 7 start? Oh, freak. Okay. I'll give you the page numbers. I can't find it right now. If anybody pulls it up.
I have the
can-
ordinance. Go ahead.
Can we pull it up on?
Ordinance 1441.
Are you looking at the ordinance or the red line version of the code?
The red line version. Thank you. I just, right now, I cannot relax enough to find it. Let's say page 100. Okay. Oh, thank you. So I have page numbers, but that's okay.
Can you identify the section of the code by number?
It's at the very beginning
Okay.
of this page. Is this the first page?
Yep.
I can't scroll. Okay, photographs was listed in there. Photographs. What are we photographing?
We photograph valve stems. What, Chief, do you want to,
Valve
or then Ernie?
I gotta find it because I have page.
The distinguished Chief Kuhn has approached.
The distinguished, the calm presence.
Is there a question for the Chief, Councilwoman Duquette?
Perhaps if it's in here. The top of the page, the first page, I think, it talked about taking photographs, and I'm wondering what photographs. They'd have to have the document.
Chief, can you disclose or explain what photographs your staff takes?
I don't know what it's referring to in the code because I don't have it in front of me.
I don't see, I'm looking at the page. I don't.
What are you looking for?
Mayor Graham, I can pull it up in 1 second.
You have page numbers on it?
No.
Yeah, okay. So 6141. See, it's all numbered in my, I'm done. I don't care.
Okay. Any other council discussion or deliberation before the clerk reads the title of the ordinance?
Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman Sparrow.
Not a hill I'm gonna die on, but idle vehicle, motor vehicle, no driver of a motor vehicle shall leave the vehicle unattended upon any street or public place while running and unsecured. Is that like if I have an automatic start, it's winter and my windshield is frozen and I want to de-ice it, but I have to automatically start it for 15 minutes? Or some people have a Tesla, they can leave it on, they have, they can gauge it that way. Is that going to hinder things like that?
No.
I think that's,
It was a
just-
For security, no.
Chief said no.
Oh, okay.
They're a secured vehicle still, so they're locked
Okay.
on the correct.
So you're like keys in the, okay, gotcha. Just want to clarify that because it's nice to.
any other discussion or deliberation? If not, clerk, could you read the title of the ordinance?
An ordinance of the city of Sandpoint, a municipal corporation of the state of Idaho, amending Sandpoint City Code Section 6-1-4-1 prohibited parking, 6-1-4-2 compliance with parking regulations, and 6-2 public parking regulations, providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
I would entertain a motion that the ordinance pass its first reading by title only and the summary is approved.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Spiro, second by Duquette, and this will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Sparrow?
Yes.
Counselor Torres?
Yes.
Schreiber?
Yes.
Counselor Rule? Yes. Counselor Duquette?
Yes.
Counselor Tate?
Yes.
Looks like the ordinance is passed its first reading by title only and the summary is approved. I would entertain a motion that the rules requiring 3 separate readings, once in the ordinance entirety, be suspended. The ordinance pass its second and third readings under suspension of the rules. Is there a motion?
moved.
Moved by Duquette,
Second.
second by Rule. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Rule? Yes. Counselor Duquette?
Yes.
Counselor Torres?
Yes.
Counselor Sparrow?
Yes.
Counselor Tate?
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber?
Yes.
Motion passes and the ordinance is considered read, passed, and adopted under rules. Next, we'll have the local option tax survey results to share for analysis and discussion. As mayor, I'd like to speak on this item. Council members, as is identified in the staff report, we have the opportunity to ask our constituents whether or not they would support a 1% local option tax in the November election. We are at a time now where we have one regular meeting left to confirm and clarify this language. As such, I've provided a draft ordinance for your consideration in the council packets. And let me just pull that up. Or draft ballot language, I should say. And what we really need to understand right now is, based on the survey feedback and additional demands, the term duration, if you're so inclined to put this proposition out to the voters, and then the specific percentages of any revenue collected through this local option tax. As you can see in the draft ballot, we've got a blank for the term, and we have options for percentage of dispersion of the revenue, some percentage for maintaining, repairing, reconstructing, and improving city streets, including related drainage and safety improvements, and some percentage of maintaining, repairing, improving, and constructing sidewalks, pedestrian crossing, bicycle facilities, pathways, trails, and waterfront access improvements that connect to the city's transportation network. With that, council members, I would open this item up for discussion, feedback, thoughts. In my opinion, this is a very cost-effective way to tally and poll the voters. There's no real cost to us for doing this. I will say we did try this in 2024. At that time, there was a fairly impotent, if any, outreach from the business community or others to garner support for this proposition. If this were put on the ballot, I would engage and make sure that there's a very robust opportunity for those in support to share that support for this ballot measure. With that, entertain any questions you might have, seek your guidance on this. Again, we would need to finalize this and pass this at our next meeting in order to make the cutoff for the November ballot.
Mr. Mayor.
And by the way, Holly and Director Welker are here to give you any background on the streets, the needs, the finances, the costs, the backlog, et cetera, related to our roads. Go ahead, Holly.
May I highlight just two things prior to council discussion? This was a collaborative effort with mayor and multiple directors and other staff. And I just wanted to highlight kind of the purpose of this 1% tax following the results of the survey. The theme that we heard is transportation, not just vehicular transportation, pedestrian bikes, not just in our public right-of-way, but also in our parks. And there was kind of a theme that we heard for a desire for trails and access to the waterfront. So the purpose in this tax would be for all things transportation. However, some of the results were heavily one highlight we heard was our roads for vehicles. So we kind of portioned it out into two areas, A and B, A being for vehicular transportation. The primary purpose would be for maintaining our roads, what's existing, repairing, reconstructing our current network. Portion B would be towards other modes of transportation, including pedestrian bicycles and other areas outside of our right-of-way. So that's the distinction there between A and B. And we highlighted percentages, thinking that council would provide how they want this local options tax to be distributed between those two areas.
And
the background.
Holly, can I just, for new council members who might not understand our backlog, can you just skim over high level where we sit in terms of our roads? Why aren't we repaving more per year? The projects we did do this year, Pine Street and Cedar, pretty much are everything we've had and have been saving. Can you just cover the status of our roads? Any realistic opportunity to keep them from imploding further?
So in 2019, the city engaged a professional service. IMS came and they surveyed all of the streets in Sandpoint. We have over 100 lane miles. And the overall condition is actually within national standards. But the interesting finding was that the backlog of streets, those are the streets that are in poor or very poor condition, is double the national average. The study also recommended that the city spend $1 million just to maintain the condition of our roads and just focus on the roads that are above poor to very good. So with that $1 million, they're recommending to resurface and maintain all of our good conditioned roads. What we hear from our residents is that's not an acceptable response. They want to see those backlogged, the poor and very poor conditioned roads maintained and worked on as well. So we've been trying to balance our budget each year with maintaining roads and repairing roads. And as we do that, we're just continuing to fall behind. We're not meeting the maintenance needs that we have, and we're not addressing our backlog. That was a 2019 study. So for the past 7 years, we've not been able to keep up. So we're in a tougher position than we were back then. We've also obviously seen inflation. So that $1 million I mentioned earlier, I took a note of it, but with adjusted for inflation, it's over $1 million today. So with this local option tax, it would give us the opportunity to maintain our roads and help address our backlog.
All right, council members, discussions?
Could I just make a comment that people need to understand that 1%, if you're shopping in Ponderay, you're paying it.
That is a
To
fact.
Ponderay at this point, just sharing.
And if council were to approve this, Councilwoman Duquette, we would do an information, as you probably are aware, the city can provide information. We can show what the collections were the last time we had a tax like this in place for War Memorial. We can show the collections that are derived during peak season and therefore assumed to be attributed to visitors. And we can show what mud season collections are from, showing a baseline of what Sandpoint residents would pay into this. And we can do some other factual education on what the expected impact on a household would be based on regional figures for household expenditures.
And when we talked about it last time, I was hoping it would not be on groceries, but
Unfortunately, that would be one of the primary
right.
primary generators of this,
From people
loading up.
in the county shopping in town, perhaps. I would be into streets, sidewalks. I think parks have money to do things. Our streets are horrible. Our sidewalks are dangerous. I would like a list, like a checklist format, the streets in worse shape, how we're gonna do them in order so that you can say, oh, we did that one. Oh, we did that one. So that everybody wanted transparency, make sure what we're doing with the money is what we said. I would like to see it listed in such a manner that we can check them off as they're done. Go by the 2019 survey.
Councilwoman Duquette, we would definitely place at a hierarchy and rely on that survey. There was much discussion about this among staff and directors. The feeling was that if you list the specific projects in this ballot measure, if it's not on your street, maybe you don't support it. If it's on a street that you like potholed because people drive slow, you might not support it. So we thought it's best to leave it high level, generalized towards maintaining, repairing, reconstructing, with the council ultimately annually giving those direction to what streets on that list would be knocked off and transparently communicated to the public.
Okay.
Other-
Mr. Mayor?
Council President Rule.
So I had an additional comment. It's similar to Councilwoman Duquette's, but a little more specific. I think we have had some pushback with parks types of facilities. So under B, where it says waterfront access improvements, I think we need to be in this language very specific to saying that is going to be waterfront access improvements at Ponderay Bay Trail, which I think many people would be receptive to having a simpler way to allow their dogs in and out, even to swim off that shoreline more safely. So although I know we don't want to get incredibly specific on all the streets that we would address, parks are separate from bike facilities, pathways, trail, and this type of waterfront access. They have a different funding source, so this wouldn't be going to parks, from what I understand, after discussing that with Director Welker. And then since I have the stage, I would be in favor of 10 years. It seems to be that was sort of the tipping point from some of the survey. Although I'd like to point out that although as far as surveys go, it was a decent representation. Still have 10,000 people in Sandpoint, and I think it was only what was the numbers? Lots of numbers tonight. So
it was not
under 1,000 people that actually were surveyed for that, I think. So, and then as far as percentages, I'd like to hear what the other council members have to say about that. I think that the public, maybe a 70-30 or a 60-40 type of allocation with the lesser amount going towards the pathways.
Thank you, President Rule. Any other council discussion? Councilman Torres.
So I guess from my perspective, with regards to the tax itself, understanding that we are taking away the meters in downtown, I know that businesses have told me that they are in favor of this. So I think by removing the meters and replacing it with this to get the revenue, I think that that's a solution that I support. So that's it.
Do you have any thoughts on the term or the breakout in terms of percentage? And for the term, it's important because in 2030, the census will occur. We are very likely to exceed the 10,000 person population cap that state statute. Once you're beyond that, you cannot offer this to the voters. So if you adopt something prior to that census, it can stay in effect as long as that term is approved for. So that's sort of the thinking there. The legislature is working on trying to figure out how to expand that over 10,000, but there's no clarity there at this point.
In that case, I would say 10 years, and at letter A, I would say 60%, and B would be 40%.
Other comments or thoughts? Councilman Tate.
I like all this stuff. I agree with all the discussion that's had already. And I don't know if this is the right time to talk about this, but to, continue to build trust and transparency, to have some pretty clear signage and communication through, if this does pass, what are we using these dollars for specifically? Because I know that people like to see the results, and it encourages, back and forth and trusting relationship.
Okay. Any thoughts on the term or percentages?
If I'm reading this correctly, are the people that fill this ballot out going to choose their own?
No, these are these yellow items are the items that council needs to approve at our next meeting.
Okay. I think a 70A, 30B, or 60/40 seems fair. And I think what Councilwoman Rule had said about the specific waterfront access improvement, just to make sure that's clear.
Add that to it, that Bay Trail.
I think Deb has the right, or Councilwoman Rule has the right knowledge about this kind of stuff. So I'd kind of just yield to her and what she thinks would be the right verbiage.
Okay. Other discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Sharp.
Yeah, it's a great point about the language about waterfront access improvements. There was a lot of community pushback with the downtown waterfront design competition, and I would be concerned that people might get the wrong impression by using that language. So, I'd be in favor of removing that entirely, to be honest. Just pathways, trails, and trails that connect the city's transportation network. I definitely understand the issues with listing specific projects, but looking at the survey results, that seems like that's exactly what people were asking for, is that not just clarity, but also commitment to, this is exactly what we're going to use that money for. And obviously we tried for a lot tax that got more than 50% of the votes, but it didn't reach the supermajority threshold that was required. And some of the feedback that we got was that there was not enough information about how we were going to spend that money, and they didn't trust that it was going to go to the things that our PR campaign said it was going to go to. So perhaps the ballot language is the proper place to say these are the projects. In terms of term, 5 years doesn't seem like long enough to really make a difference in the dent in the streets that we have. When you start digging into it, it is really shocking how much money it's going to take to get our streets up to national standards. So, as Holly mentioned, we were supposed to be spending $1 million a year to maintain what we have, and we haven't even been spending that. So every year that we spend less than that, they get worse and worse and worse. Hopefully this would allow us to spend $1 million. We can't even guarantee that. But clearly we need another funding source for this purpose. I mean, if we're, like I said, I would be in favor of specific projects, but if we're locked into this percentage, I would say 70-30, mainly because sidewalks and bike paths tend to be less expensive than streets. But I think that is a viable alternative that we need to be funding as well.
Thank you, Councilman Schreiber. Councilman Spiro, any comments?
Yeah, so here the 5 or 10 year, are we able to do 8 or is it? We try
Yeah,
to
you
stick
can
to-
pick any number you can reach
Yeah,
consensus on.
you don't want to scare people too, you don't want to scare people away. I'm fine with 10. I mean, I don't have a problem with that if that's what the people want. The other question I had, Councilman Schreiber, is your concern was the waterfront access. They might think of those plans, 2021 or whatever. So if people are thinking that, what would you say? Would you be agreeable to putting on there not waterfront design?
Yeah.
I mean, if
that's
that's
one way
what
to
people, if
accomplish
that's
that.
what's going to have somebody vote no, and they are in tune with that far back, then that's a voter that knows what's going on, which is good. Then maybe putting not waterfront design might be beneficial, where we can still allocate the money towards other waterfront access that might be beneficial, since a lot of our waterfront is very busy.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, Holly, yeah.
Again, one thing to highlight. So for council, there's no requirement to put a percentage. So if council didn't want to assign a percentage here, you wouldn't have to. The other consideration is we are attempting to keep this ordinance simple. Our educational campaign, we have an opportunity to clarify and also educate on potential projects too. So I don't know that you'd have to amend the ballot language to describe specific projects, but I think we have an opportunity in our educational efforts. We could clarify projects, transparency.
Thanks, Holly. I agree. And for me, it would come down to, I mean, I hear all the time roads, and sidewalks, pathways. I kind of echo Council President Rules. Parks does have a $1 million capital improvement plan. Parks get a lot of love and a lot of funding. They're important for quality of life and visitors, but I hear everything about roads, and potholes and sidewalks. So if you do anything, I would hope you would do a larger percentage towards because the next council, if this is in for 10 years, they could, if you don't define the percentage, they could direct it towards one or the other. So, did you agree? You don't really have to take action tonight. We can incorporate some flexibility into this for our next meeting. Again, check in and communicate and sort of keep you abreast of this moving forward. The hope and expectation is at the 19th. Any non-material amendments you want to make, you could do then, and then pass that resolution to get this to the county.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman Schreiber.
Councilor Spiro, did you get your question answered?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, excellent.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, just to add again to what I said, it seems like there might be some leanings more towards 70-30. Like I said, I would be okay with that. But I will reiterate, I would not like to take the waterfront access part out, but I would like to include it as Ponderay Bay Trail specifically in the ballot language. Because although we try to educate, there are plenty of people that don't educate themselves, don't take responsibility for it, and all they're gonna know is what they read when they show up. And I feel like, for whatever reason, in my gut, it tells me if we had that there, it really tells people what,
The winning combination.
yes, potentially.
Legal, this is a legislative action, so they can discuss this and
Not
to have
to
that.
use any city resources to include their title or paper or funding or money in any way to advocate for or against. So educate is okay, facts are okay, you cannot advocate.
All right, council members, we will bring some options back to you on the 19th. Thanks. And I know it's a tough time, food inflation, cost. This is, in my opinion, the ultimate, survey of our public to understand what they want to do and what they want to see us fix. Moving on, the final item on the agenda for the evening will be an opportunity to review and take a look at adjustments the city council would like to make to the budget ahead of the public hearing on the 19th. So, council members, we've got Sarah, our finance director here. Are there any clarifications or items you wish to amend or move around at this point? If not, you can do so on the 19th. It'd be nice to have a heads up prior for all of us, but I turn it over to council for any comments or discussion.
There is one comment I do want to make before we discuss. At the SURA meeting, it was, let me move this. It was decided that they were not going to move forward with the $25,000 economic development. So that will need to be removed from our budget, both in revenues and expenses.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman Schreiber.
So there's a capital project for the Little Sand Creek Watershed Management Plan, Timber Management Plan, and Urban Forestry Master Plan projects. And that's coming out of the water capital projects. So probably can't be used for urban forestry.
My off the cuff would say unless it's directly related to the transmission or production of water in the city, probably not.
Okay. Well, I'm not exactly sure how to accomplish this, but I would like to specify that those funds, because that capital project is pretty loosely defined right now, I would like to specify those capital funds be used for fire mitigation in our watershed. I know that you have a desire for a recreation facility at Turn 5, but I want to specify that these funds will not be used for that, and instead will be used for fire mitigation within the watershed and source water protection, because if we were to have a fire in that watershed, that water treatment plant would be completely unusable.
Councilman Trevor, I hear you. I'm not sure if there's a method. I defer to legal or finance for restricting funds unless they're unrestricted. You approve the whole budget. To some degree, the mayor has the ability to administer it based on timing of projects and what's coming at them, but I hear you. I'll give you my word. I won't spend those towards recreational facilities. But I'm fully supportive. Fire mitigation is a huge issue up there, and I want to get something done in the next 31 meetings to address that.
Well, I do want to clarify that cannot be used for recreational. That has to be used for the master plan in the watershed. So it would not be recreational type usage of that. In our capital budget book, we do have the narrative. We can, if we're directed by staff or by council, to update that narrative to include that. So that would be what we work off of.
Okay, so do I do that now?
Yeah, we can do that before the next.
I mean, the money's going to be the same. I mean, so there would be no budget movement in that regard. That's going to be, and I guess I would legal, would they just need to say that they want that clarification? Yeah.
No. So no action taken. We'll make that clarification. Fire mitigation.
But
well, I think it would be nice to know whether or not we have a consensus of council.
Yes, thank you. Any council members opposed to adding clarification for the watershed utility management funding for arboriculture and tree harvesting to include fire mitigation efforts? I hear no objection. We will do so.
I've also got, we have a capital project for sidewalk and bike path projects. It's budgeted And I'd like to specify that that one be directed towards a path on Main Street from the senior center as far west as the funding will get us. Spoken to Holly, and it was identified in previous plans, and we do have the available right of way to use for that project. It's just a matter of directing the funding that's already in the budget.
The 991,000, some portion of that sidewalk and bike path projects. I think.
Yeah,
That's what I'm seeing.
It definitely won't be all of it because some of $500,000 from urban renewal.
Yep.
That can't be used for it. The grant funding was for North Boyer, I'm pretty sure, so that can be used for it.
It would just be the Beast city tax is what it could be from.
And is that
could, because the impact fees was not on the impact fee list. So I believe that, Holly, that we could use that if that is, and then we can clarify that in the narrative as well. But that would not be moving around any money. It would just be clarification, but.
Well, and I think needs to be a look at your sidewalk priority projects and make sure that that's on that adopted list.
And you said bike path, not sidewalk, right?
Correct. I mean, pending advice from the engineer who designs it.
Okay. Well, I bring that up because in the impact fees, we do have an impact fee for bike path extension, and we could potentially change our capital improvement plan for those to include a new project. But what I'm hearing is you would like to see Main Street developed from the city.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would be very interested in reopening that capital improvement plan. I think Councilor Duquette and I both raised concerns about the projects that were identified in that plan at the time. So
we're waiting for some information on the roads still for the traffic impact study. But Holly, thoughts on what Councilman Schreiber is suggesting?
So for the sidewalk question, what's budgeted next year? Boyer Sidewalk grant funded project. We've got Superior Sidewalk, also a grant funded project. So there's no flexibility on changing that scope of work. But what we do have is some funding from our resort city tax. We've got 7 projects on that sidewalk projects on that list. In our next fiscal year, we were targeting 4th Avenue sidewalk. This is a project that's in design and finalizing design, and the next step is construction. We could swap those projects, and if council wanted to do Main Street, that is a project that is eligible under that resort city tax funding. When we proposed that tax, that project was identified during that educational effort. So that Main Street sidewalk could be shifted and swapped for that 4th Avenue sidewalk project.
Thanks. And just to clarify, the reason for that change is that 4th Avenue already has a continuous sidewalk down one side. And so this project would just be patching the holes in the sidewalk on the other side. Whereas I think it's more important to have a continuous sidewalk on one side of Main Street before we start getting continuous sidewalks on both sides of every other street.
I love Main Street. It's a corridor to our core, downtown core. It's a spot I agree should have multimodal access.
And the other direction too, it's access to Fireman Stidwell Elementary School, the library. It provides critical access to that whole northwest part of town that currently doesn't have a safe route.
But for clarification, there's no adjustment to the published budget that needs to happen. It's just a narrative and a project priority adjustment.
Bottom line budget would not change, but our narrative would. On 4th Avenue, the project's been reviewed by our Ped Bike Committee. We're about 100% design. Just so council understands, that would mean that we would put that project on the shelf for a year and work on the Main Street project. That project would sit on the shelf, so we'd revisit it. It's not a wasted effort. It would just be delayed.
And of course, Councilman Schreiber, if the local option tax were to succeed, we would have revenues starting in January. We could reopen the budget and plug away on that one.
Yeah, or if we revisited the impact fee project list, we could use those funds too, because we definitely have money in our impact fee for pathways.
Yep. Yeah, I think we can work those out and bring them to the council for prioritization outside of the budget setting process here, but I fully support that.
And you mentioned that there was discussion of the budget at the Sura meeting recently. Was there any discussion about shifting funds from Woodland over to Baldy Extension?
That was their budget. They were referencing, we had put in a request commensurate with our budget for $25,000 to set up a presence on the internet to highlight the world-class businesses that are here that pay good wages, that have year-round employment, such as the aerospace community. So that was the request to them. We did not make a request for the Baldy extension design, no. We discussed it. They referred back to their plan, their 2010 plan, and my recollection was they were pretty adamant about putting that money into Great Northern.
What's the process in changing that plan?
They would need to amend their plan.
Okay.
Council could send them a request to amend it, but ultimately they're an independent body.
Excellent. And then the other item I had was additional funding for urban forestry, which we just discussed can't come from the watershed money. But this is another one of those items that we have a master plan from a few years ago that we haven't opened, and every year that we underfund it, the problem just gets worse. And unfortunately, emergency tree work is much more expensive than preventative tree work. So I would love to see the full 162,000 that the plan calls for. I don't necessarily have a path to get there. If you have a recommendation of what
well, Councilman Schreiber, we have until the next meeting. We can make changes at the next meeting. Is that right, Sarah?
It would be nice to get them all done now so that when we have the public hearing, then it's published what was decided on tonight.
Yeah.
But yes, there can be more changes done at the public hearing.
Well, that's a tricky one, Councilman Schreiber, because we do have the one-time dollars. I think the challenge is how do we meld that into one-time dollars that are going to be effective?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Council President.
One-time dollars, I think that Farman Park is in great need of lots of rescuing of the trees and maybe even potentially shifting the intensive uses off of the grass and the bases of the trees. And so that wouldn't be an ongoing maintenance trimming. That would be a one-time impact type of project that we could potentially, I don't know a lot about trees, but I think if we can do something there, that would be money well spent.
Councilman Schreiber, would just a bucket called urban forestry consultant work for you, do you think?
Yeah, I don't,
And
do we
that-
have anyone on staff that does big tree work like that?
No.
So it would be hiring a consultant
Yeah,
anyway, yeah.
But where I'm going with that is with Sarah's blessing, as a one-time money allocation, we could hold urban forestry consultant that could do a variety of things, look at the master plan, work the urban forestry committee, tackle some tricky issues like farm and park trees. And if you wanted to divert money from one time, I would suggest the one thing this budget does do this year is puts most of that one-time money towards streets, making a motion to redirect some amount from that street line item to an urban forestry consultant.
You want me to pull up the one-time money sheet so you guys can see?
Yes, please.
Be useful, thank you.
Page 58 in the budget book if you have it.
And then another thing is so I should say all the trees that we own are either in parks or on the right of ways. So we would need to, I would in the budget split those between the two. It does not mean that they can't be used. Like, let's say we put, just throwing out there 50 and 50, it doesn't mean that we can't spend 80 and 20, it would just, we need to put them in either a bucket of each one, so.
And that's because it would come from the parks budget versus the public works budget.
Correct. When we
Yeah.
do reporting, we have to report on certain things. And so that has to, like, especially the streets, we have a street report that's due to the state to be able to receive more funding. So it has to go in that has to go in budgets to be able to report on it.
Okay.
So here's the one-time money that is currently in the budget.
So yeah, you'll see 1.49 million there.
Yep, that there. So we could move, that would be the bucket that you're recommending, Mayor?
Yes.
What about, and I know I asked this last year, sorry, Director Ellis, I keep doing this to you, but we did approve what, like $1 million worth of streets equipment last year?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was like 1.1, I think, 1.105 or something like that.
And now we're looking at another $500,000 this year.
Yes, yes.
Is there any of those that are, I mean, obviously you wouldn't have asked for it if you didn't need it, but and you did a great job in the strategic planning of explaining why you need those things. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I feel like that's a lot of money that we're putting towards streets equipment 2 years in a row.
There's quite a backlog on our street equipment. That's why it kind of hit everything at once. One thing I'm really looking forward to is councils in our strategic plan that you all worked on, looking at an efficiency study so that we can actually anticipate our equipment needs better and plan for them and put money aside so that it is not all at once. I don't see any items on here. There's no fluff. This is what it takes to operate a streets department. If there was something to trim, I suppose you could trim the number down and maybe we always budget for new equipment and we look for used. If you trimmed these, we could be forced to look for used and maybe not have the new equipment opportunity. It'd be one thing to look at, but I struggle with taking one of those items off completely.
That's fair. What about the multimodal transportation plan line item? What project is identified for that?
That's an effort to revisit and open up the multimodal transportation plan. We've heard a lot of concerns from council on our truck network and amending some of our capital plans and looking at alternatives. That would be an amendment to that plan, a pretty substantial amendment.
Oh, yeah,
The plan itself.
yeah,
Got it.
that's important. And Councilman Schreiber, I mean, the streets, and this is the reason our streets they're the easiest to, pivot on and why we've underfunded them. But, $100,000 for urban forestry work, I mean, what's that going to get us, a block of some resurfacing, maybe 2?
Yeah, that's a good number for Olive that we're planning to redo. We're targeting that's 1 block of asphalt, and we think we're going to come in around $100,000 on that effort.
I'm sorry, could you explain that to me more?
Oh, sorry. Olive Street, we're going to rehab that 1 block where we did our CIPP project.
Oh,
here.
right. Okay.
And we're looking to repave that, remove the asphalt, replace the asphalt, more of a rehab effort. And we're estimating that's going to come in around $100. And that's a nice paving project. $100,000.
And so right now we have a temporary patch where the road had to be dug up and it's probably going to fail over the course of the winter and become a problem.
No, it's just gravel.
Oh, it's just gravel. Oh,
Well-
you live on.
About 12 patches on the 1 block and it's.
They just dug a new one today, as a
That's
matter
all.
of fact, all the way across, and then they filled it with gravel, so.
Yeah, my point there was, Councilman Schreiber, is just to give you sort of
Scale.
a clear weighing of $100,000 towards, we've got $1.5 million, which is extraordinary for the city in the past 5 years, to put into streets. And if urban forestry projects are, in your opinion, critical, it's not like you're going to stop all of our street projects. You're just taking away about a block or 2.
This is another good point to get some consensus from council. Is council inclined, the rest of council inclined to find money for urban forestry? Yes, no, just so.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I don't want to shave it from this at least.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Thank you, Holly,
hesitant
for all
to
you
do
do.
that as well.
Councilman Tate, any?
I like trees.
You like trees? Okay, so you would be willing to reduce our road project next year to get an urban forestry contract?
Not necessarily the road.
Okay.
Isn't saying, but.
Okay.
So I guess this kind of begs a
We need
bigger
money
question
for
because we do have a directive from our citizens through our comprehensive plan to adequately fund our urban forestry program. We have a master plan that tells us what adequate funding is. We have an urban forester who has been spending a lot of time on public works projects. I mean, big public works projects. And I want him to have as much focus as those require. But at the same time, I don't know that it's fair to ask him to do both. And so we need a plan moving forward, how we're going to address this, not just one time because it was a 5-year plan, but are we going to have an urban forester who has time to spend on urban forestry, or are we going to have a public works project manager? And I was recently talking to a member of the community who noted that if we had an urban forester, why are we paying consultants to manage our watershed for us? That's just one example of potential cost savings. I'm very happy with IFM's service throughout the years, but I think this is a much bigger conversation about how we're allocating the budget overall.
No, I appreciate that, Councilman Schreiber. And I think what you've very quickly gotten to is you've got, on the one hand, the operational cost to manage the city. And this is really the only money that doesn't require reduction of headcount or changing staffing levels. The urban forester, I believe, works 4 hours a week for urban forestry. The rest of the time is allocated to public works and streets or utilities. So yeah, it's no different than our comp plan that calls for us to have a transportation network that we don't fund every year. And there's just limits to what we can do. So, in light of that, this is what I'll call the discretionary money. And I think anything else would be incumbent on finding new revenue. Maybe the local option tax, or if the hotel gets built, we might see some property tax increase. We might see some lodging tax increase that could offset some of the general fund dollars for other things.
And this year we had a grant for the urban forestry project that you mentioned earlier in the meeting. And we didn't go for the grant, that same grant for next fiscal year.
No, we did not. We were eligible to apply for the grant. One of our main hindrances is how we would look to the grant agencies that we just awarded. So while we're welcome to apply, not only had we just received money, but we also had not spent it yet. So we weren't well positioned, and with the other priorities that we had at that time, did not submit the grant application.
But Councilman Schreiber, if the council were inclined, maybe you could take a small portion. We could do sort of a test case, enhance the contracting ability for urban forestry out of streets, and see how it goes this year. And if there's value and worth in augmenting it, next year's budget, look real hard at staffing levels and see what's appropriate to try to fund that position.
Yeah, I think we need to find a long-term solution, whether it's an in-house employee or a long-term contractor like we do with IFM. But the fact is that we have been budgeting $50,000 a year for urban forestry, not using all of it. That ends up in the one-time. Now it's that one-time funding is being spent on these projects instead. And so we're essentially taking money away from forestry and putting it into streets, putting it into these other projects. So I don't know if that's a directive that the executive branch needs to spend the money that we're allocating for that, or allocate the money that our master plans call for.
No, it's a great question. And, as I mentioned, we hold back those dollars always in case there's a big windstorm or something and we have to remove some big trees out of the road or park or the water plants. So, I mean, you're absolutely right. Some portion of this one-time money has come from our savings on urban forestry last year. Again, this is the budget based on, visiting with directors that I brought you. Feel free to adjust accordingly. And I, again, go back to the streets are the one thing you're not going to have a department saying, you just made my job more difficult because you took a piece of equipment or facility away from me. And it is the biggest allocation of that one-time money. And our streets are a mess. I'm not sure that 50,000 or something as a trial project for a consultant is going to make a big impact on our streets. It might give us some direction on how we can build that into something more sustainable to implement the forestry plan.
Mr. Mayor, I would just add, historically, we've not done a good job spending that forestry budget. The mayor articulated accurately how we reserve that funding and we never use it at the end of the year. Council's been clear in their priority that trees is a higher priority than it has been in years past. And we have been working to help prioritize it with the budget that we do have. The budget increased a little moderately from years previous, and the survey and the inventory that we're going to do is going to set us up. We've also got an RFP out to an arborist firm who would help us with tree trimming in our right of way. And we've got some ideas on how we would prioritize different streets. So it might be helpful if we gave an update on what we plan to do with the money that we requested and give some more clarity. And then whatever gap there is, that might help you identify what your budget need is that you're looking for.
That's a great solution. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion on the budget or anything somebody has a specific question or desire to amend at this point?
Mine is more general and not even necessarily budget oriented, but it sits in the budget as part of this. So, Mr. Mayor, you made me a promise earlier this year that you would come back with a new org chart. And I see that the old one is still in there after we made the changes. So it's clear in the org chart that where the council access is and how we have access to legal and whatnot. So I'm not seeing that happen. So I'd love to see that new org chart come back. And then as a part of that, we have received a draft on our strategic plan that we worked really hard on. And so I'd like to see that coming back to us for more comments, whether or not we approve as is or we make comments and then we bring it back again. I don't, because we need our strategic plan so that then we can have it in front of us to say, where do these items fit into the strategic plan? Just as we were discussing here, and Holly mentioned very accurately, we did discuss trees a lot. We agreed that that was a bigger priority and we were going to find money for it. So I think we need to relate all of our budget line items to our strategic plan. We spent a lot of hours updating our strategic plan. So I would like to see both of those things come back to us in the very near future. And you did say you were going to bring the org chart with budget. And so
It
I
was
got
my duly noted, Council President, and it was my understanding that the budget book had that refined org chart, but I may be incorrect.
unless you refined it.
I-
I don't know whose
but-
job that falls under, but
Staff
I
did.
don't believe that
We refined the org chart
it
to some degree.
looks like the same one to me.
Got the city attorney in the middle there. This is the one that was updated on 8/27 and 24.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, little
Not updated.
not updated.
I'll have to get with you independently, Council President Rule, to understand what needs to be updated. Happy to do that.
Okay.
All right, council members, thank you for your attention and detail to this. We are almost ready to pass the budget, and good job today on the parking. No further business for the council. The meeting is now adjourned at 9:11 p.m.
Oh my goodness, are we actually really?